also is Texas Farm Bureau and TaylorMade. Good afternoon, 365 Sports. Hope you've had a really good day. It was a chaotic night in the Big 12. We'll get into that in many different ways. The women's tournament started today in Kansas City. And notes on that analyst and Mark Stoops, the former Kentucky coach, a nugget from Steve Sarkisian when they played last season and what he thought about Mark Stoops as a coach and defensive mind. We will have Stacy Dales of the NFL Network today at 3:30. Willie Fritz, Houston coach, at 4. And then today at 4:25, Rick Newheisel, who's now a part of the UFL Renegades and former college football coach and CBS Sports, studio anchor and analyst for college football. Let's get straight to it, guys. TCU stuns Texas Tech in Lubbock. This TCU resume is rather interesting, but they beat Tech in Lubbock. Tech did not shoot the ball very well, and TCU's been on the bubble, so to speak. Forget about it. They're not in the bubble. They're in. This is dominant for them. There's the win. The score 73-65. They're going to finish above 500, Craig, in Big 12 play for the first time since they joined it, and no Big 12 team in college basketball ever since the conference was formed in '96 has finished above 500 in the league and missed the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a handy stat for TCU to have in their back pocket potentially. I guess we'll see if that holds or not. But, yeah, it was a really nice win for the Frogs and a tough loss for Texas Tech, who's now starting to see the realization of what not having JT Toppin looks like after, I think, some guys stepping up and being able to fill the void, albeit in a different way, but being able to fill it nonetheless. You had Tech kind of feeling like, hey, we're going about it and doing it a bit of a different way, and we're going to be okay. And then now you're starting to see where, no, that's not quite the case. It's more about them trying to still figure some things out. And, that was a tough loss for Texas Tech and a really nice win for TCU.
So TCU above 500, they've been on quite the roll, and so they're going to be in the NCAA tournament, which then means has BYU, I haven't said that in a long time, has BYU pushed themselves out? But we'll get to the Cougars in just a moment. KU, what in the world? They go to Arizona State, they go to Tempe. Hurley, maybe his last couple of games, last home game, depending on what they do with him. And Kansas gets beaten up early, they come back, and then they get, at the end, not enough to beat Arizona State. And here is Bill Self in the second half of the game after being ejected, after kind of a back and forth with Darren Peterson and an ASU defender. Bill Self ejected Craig, and I just think he had enough. It's been a kind of a grind for KU. I saw the video of Peterson trying to get loose and the defender. But at the same time, that's a great win for ASU. They're not going to get in the tournament unless they win the tournament in Kansas City, but a nice win nonetheless on their home court.
Yeah, I mean, just more drama surrounding Kansas and Darren Peterson to some extent, and Bill Self and all of that. But, a tough loss, a loss that you didn't see coming. It was a wild night last night. Let's just start there. It was a wild night last night, even though we started to get into the games. I think in general, just everything you thought was probably going to happen as you would expect it to was not the way that it fell. It was all just kind of madness and upsets and craziness, throwing things for a little bit of a loop. And so, that included Kansas, and still just a lot of talk surrounding them. They're a good team. It's just what version is going to show up and on what given night. And so, that was a really nice win for an Arizona State program that's been through a lot this season. Obviously, the conversation surrounding their head coach and Hurley is one that's been going on for quite a while as far as his future and all of those types of things. So, yeah, I mean, for them to get that win, I think that was just a really nice touch on the end of the season for the Sun Devils and a nice moment for them, whereas for Kansas, it just leads to more of like the hand-wringing, the what's going to happen here and what does this all turn into when all is said and done.
All right, we need to do a little tweak of a microphone issue, as some of you have said, and we are working on that. We'll Brett come back with more on KU, Arizona State, the Big 12 standings, update and more. And this is 365 Sports.
As my go-to guy, can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery for my G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
It's time to compete against yourself, finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics. Whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture, what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%.
Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels.
We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
We're back in studio. David Smoak with Craig Smoak. Paul and Brandon and Garrett are working on a microphone issue, so I'm working at Paul's mic at this particular time. Here are some still shots from Tempe following the Arizona State win against KU. By the way, KU has never beaten Arizona State in Tempe, like 5 games. They've never won there. Here are some celebration shots after the game of Sun Devil fans enjoying the win against KU, as you see on our screen. There we go, right there. 4 different montages of 4 different shots as Arizona State. Anarchy? No, let's just, it's college basketball. Couple of stats, Craig, on KU. In the last 10 years in college basketball, Division I, teams were 440-1 in regulation when they finished with 55 rebounds or more in a game and had a rebound margin advantage of 12 or more. Think about that. 55 rebounds and a plus 12, 440 wins, 1 loss, and now KU becomes the second team to lose out of 442 times that's happened.
Like, that's cool. Like, who even comes up with, like, it's like, it's 44 is like the cutoff to that number. It's just, I don't know, is that computer spitting that out? Because I can't wrap my head around, like, how you even go, like, man, I wonder if anybody's ever had 44 rebounds and lost in like, I don't know where statisticians come up with this kind of thing, but yeah, that's cool. I suppose. I mean, yeah, that's interesting, and just further, I don't know, hammers home that KU lost a game that was pretty ugly to lose, and it was a really unforeseen type of win by Arizona State. So yeah, I mean, I would be celebrating if I was the Sun Devils as well. It's been a really tough year, as I was alluding to earlier, and they've been through quite a bit under Hurley. So nice way to kind of not quite cap off the season, but in a way end the season on a higher note. And I think for Kansas, it's a bad loss. It's a really bad loss as far as it affecting your seeding and kind of how you feel moving forward. So they're going to have to shoot the ball better. Obviously, that was a big thing for them last night. Just not good offensively at all. A lot of turnovers and, just still a lot of just chatter just surrounding them that I wouldn't be really comfortable with if I was Kansas fans, because it's been an all-year-long thing, so you'd almost be used to it. But now you're hitting the stretch drive, and the fact that you're still having little chatter as like this side conversation, I think is just something that's an annoyance, and maybe something is going to cost you ultimately in the big dance, whatever is actually going on behind the scenes and all of that. So, yeah, that was an ugly loss. It seems like Kansas fans can't really get too high or too low. Like, you're always told that as a player by your coach, like, don't get too high or too low, even though it's hard to do that. And for Kansas, though, I think it's really easy to not do that, because how could you possibly do that? Every time you seem like you're getting to be pretty good, you turn around and, lose a game you don't expect, or I don't know. It just feels like it's been a very herky-jerky type of year for them. Arizona State, the writing's been on the wall, but like I have said a couple of times now, that was a really just fun win for a program that desperately needed something fun to kind of wrap their arms around. And, yeah, we'll see for Kansas, man. We're getting into nut-cutting time. Yeah. So, for lack of a better term, that's where we are.
Here's the note. Kansas ranks 30th in Torvik. Now, that's, again, analytics when it comes to their overall ranking, all the defense, offense, efficiency, and all that. But they're 135th in the country in offense. 135th. They are 135. They're 8th in defense. So their defense is playing great, but not scoring or being consistent enough when it comes to where they are. And that's over the last 9 games. And they had the big win against Houston, and it seemed like they were back on track. And then now they have gone into not a free fall, but they have slipped yet again.
No, I mean, and I don't think people can get too high or too low on Kansas either. It's the same thing as them falling into that trap themselves of, if you're an analyst, like, they're back. No, wait, no, they're not. They're back. No, wait, no, they're not. They're back. No, wait, no, they're not. I mean, that's what the last, month or so has been for them. They had the long win streak, and you felt like, all right, well, here we go. Like, this is the team that's going to go win the Big 12 like they typically do, or at least be right there in that mix. And they won a bunch of games during a stretch where they were playing BYU, who was top 15, Iowa State, who was top 2, Texas Tech was top 15, Arizona was the number 1 team in the country. They went on that, what was it, like an 8-game win streak, beat number 2, number 13, number 13, number 1, and then they lost that Iowa State game, and since then they're 2-4, and their 2 wins, Oklahoma State and Houston, which is a really great win, but they beat Houston. They turn around and lose to Arizona, and then you're like, okay, well, it's Houston, Arizona, split the difference. We're still pretty good. Then you lose to Arizona State right after that, get swept by the Arizona schools, or not swept, but you get beat by the Arizona schools back-to-back, and that's now put them back in the position where they were just a couple weeks ago of like, will they, won't they, are they, aren't they? I don't know. Like, I'm going to be fascinated by them in the tournament, because I don't think anybody knows quite what to expect ultimately.
Iowa State's kind of been like that. In fact, Kelvin Sampson made a comment about Kansas, is that, you don't really know who's going to show up. It wasn't like a negative comment. Bill Self's going to raise his hand and go, no kidding. His coaches would rather know you're either not very good or not, or you're really, but the up and down, the herky-jerky, the inconsistent, it drives anybody crazy. And also not only Coach Self, his staff, but he took it on, the staff took the blame after last night's loss to Arizona State.
Well, they had to. He didn't even coach but a few minutes in the game before he was already out of there. So that was a total team effort, that loss last night. Bill Self, for the little bit of time that he was around until he was ejected arguing over that call. And then, the staff took over for a lot of the first half and all the second half, and it was what it was. Tough loss for KU.
All right, one other note on KU. It's too early really to get to this point, but if they don't reach the Sweet 16, which they have every capability of doing, and then again, who knows, but if they don't, it will be the fourth consecutive year that they've not gone or reached the Sweet 16, and the last time that happened was 41 years ago. The 82, 3, 4, and 5 teams did not reach the Sweet 16. We're not talking Final Four, Sweet 16, which is almost like an automatic reservation for them, but it would be the first time since 82 through 1985. One note, Texas Tech losing to BYU. Texas Tech losing to TCU. BYU double digits blown out by Cincinnati. KU losing at Arizona State. And there are thoughts that the Big 12 backloaded all of the really good teams towards the last 2 or 3 weeks, which I disagree with. I think it's been every week. But you wonder if there is some sort of wear and tear, and maybe even some guys getting a little dinged up. Burris has a bad ankle. Lipsy has a bad ankle. Players, of course, Toppin's out. And Houston's had a couple of guys with more than just soreness. And you wonder if that's not starting to take a little bit of toll on some of these teams.
No. As far as Texas Tech goes, I was kind of talking about it earlier. We were dealing with whatever issues, and that was an ugly loss for them. And I do think that JT Toppin, the effects are starting to be felt there. TCU, really good on the glass, beat them up and had the advantage there. And I think that was an area that you were concerned about going into that game because that's what TCU's really good at, and it did, in fact, come true. And another area you're concerned about if you're Grant McCasland is so far, guys have been able to shoot threes at a really high clip and make up for the fact that you don't have JT Toppin, or on the glass you don't have JT Toppin. But last night you felt it, I think, defensively, and I think Grant McCasland even alluded to it in the clip I saw of just some of the toughness that they've lost with no JT Toppin. You feel his effects kind of all over the place, and then certainly offensively. They don't have the guy to really replace him. And they need some guys to step up, and they had guys step up a little bit here and there, but as far as every night, you can do this and that and the other, when you had JT Toppin in the lineup, that X factor is gone. And so he desperately needs these guys to play with confidence and to step up and try to fill that void as best they can. But yeah, this is what you worried about when you lost your star player, was just the ramifications offensively, defensively, just swagger-wise. All the things that he encompasses. I think you saw that in that loss last night. So I think Texas Tech's going to be okay. Still a very ferocious team that I wouldn't want to see lined up in my bracket, especially in the first couple rounds. But, yeah, they do have, I think, a little bit more of the uncertainty creeping in on, this is kind of what we worried about if we weren't shooting the three at a really great clip or, whatever. So, that was a really good win for TCU, who I think gets respect, but they also just seem like they kind of float around, and they're on the edge of people respect them, but most people don't even really realize they're there, kind of a thing, if that makes sense.
They have some really quality wins, Craig, but they also have a loss to Utah,
right?
A Notre Dame loss, and there was another game that kind of came out of nowhere. That is
they lost to New Orleans in the very first game of the year.
Yeah, there you go, UNO as well.
But they're a scrappy team, and they can beat you, and they showed that last night. So they're on a nice little run right now where Tech's definitely the best team they play, but they had a little bit of that break in the schedule where Arizona State and K-State prior to that, they beat West Virginia. So they're on a 4-game run. They're about to run into a Cincinnati team that feels a lot better about where things are, I would say, and a Cincinnati team that's flirting with what their postseason might look like. So that ought to be a hell of a little scrapper right there between TCU and Cincinnati as they both try to kind of position themselves. But, yeah, that was a wild night. ASU over Kansas is one thing, but then TCU over Tech's another. And then you have UCF, who now they're barely hanging on by a thread as far as they got to start getting nervous about bracketology because they're starting to slip here at the end. They lose in overtime to Oklahoma State at home. So that's a double whammy for them. West Virginia is a team that's
I think they're done.
Keep their head above water, and then they lose that game last night. And, that probably ended things for them. So that was a brutal loss in Manhattan. Colorado, Utah, nice win by the Buffs. That doesn't really have any ramifications. But then, Cincinnati, like I talked about, they just beat up BYU.
Yeah, they did.
That was a good win for them.
A 22-point win. Now, BYU has a 3-game losing streak. They've lost 9 of 13, while Cincinnati has won 6 of 7. We're going to break here. Stacy Dales, NFL Network around the corner. Also, Rick Newheisel in an hour. Willie Fritz, head coach at Houston, the Cougars football coach, will join us today at 4. We'll come back in a second and show you the updated Big 12 standings and some tiebreakers on who will be what seed when the tournament starts after the weekend. This is 365 Sports.
Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
At the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels, drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off, or a new Laramie Crew Cab with 3.9% plus $15,000 off MSRP. Shop Allen Samuels at Waco.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
This is 365 Sports.
Greg Smoak, David Smoak, 365 Sports on this Wednesday afternoon. Got three great guests lined up, including in just a moment Stacy Dales, NFL Network, Rick Newheisel in an hour, and Willie Fritz, Houston coach, as I mentioned, will join us at the top of the hour at 4 o'clock. Here is the latest, the most updated Big 12 standings after last night's somewhat chaos with Arizona State winning and TCU winning, and also a couple of the other games that happened. Arizona, we know, they clinched the regular season title. They've got one game left. Houston now tucked in at number 2, and then Tech is 3. Then you have KU and Iowa State, TCU. Now look at the logjam, 9-8, 9-8, 8-9, 8-9. Here's what can happen with BYU. They lose any tiebreakers with UCF, Cincinnati, and West Virginia. BYU's win over TCU will not come into play. Wins over Colorado, Arizona State would only break ties for the bottom 8 seeding. BYU will probably end up playing in the opening round on Tuesday in Kansas City based on the fact, as I mentioned, they've been slipping. And, of course, remember, they did have the key injury, and it just hasn't been something they've been able to overcome either. So there you are right now with the Big 12 tournament. With Houston, they're going to get a first-round bye. Texas Tech, too, and it's just a matter of what happens after the rest of this week.
Yeah, that's the thing with Texas Tech last night losing is they still get a first-round bye. So for a team that's a bit more shorthanded now, I think that's great for them to be able to kind of collect their breath after they get done with this final game. But the interesting part about what you just mentioned is BYU's final game is at home against Texas Tech. So this slide they've been on, it would, maybe be a situation where the Provo faithful lift them and they get off the schneid and they win a big game to close out the regular season. But there's also a great chance that the slide continues for BYU. And, yeah, the Richie Saunders injury, we knew at the time that was going to be something they would feel. To what extent, didn't really know, but stood to be a pretty significant loss along the lines of Texas Tech losing JT Toppin, just a guy who you're not better without him. You're much better with him, and you're a much more dangerous team in March with those types of players. So, AJ DeBonsa is an incredible talent, and he's still been a lot of fun to follow throughout this year. But it's been tough to watch this like it's like there's a leak in the gas tank and you've just seen the gas like trailing behind BYU and you see that whatever you call it, it's not the odometer, is it? That'd be the mileage, right? But whatever, you see that little
fuel gauge.
Yeah, you see the fuel gauge. You see that just slowly starting to head towards empty, and there's nothing you can really do about it. That's kind of how I feel about BYU right now. So hopefully they can patch it up and go on a run. But, yeah, Texas Tech and BYU and Provo this weekend is going to be a hell of a finale, and BYU could certainly use a win. But you know what? After last night, Texas Tech could also, I think, feel real great about going in there and getting a win as well.
I had just put up recently I guess it was after the weekend win, I'd said that no matter what, they haven't blinked, and then ever since that time, there's some of them say, hey, they're just shooting outrageously, like better than they really should, and that will calm down. Well, that's the case for anybody, and that's why, yes, if you also have Toppin in the lineup, he overcomes some of that. Also, teams that have played Arizona, the next game, they are 4-12. Maybe it's because Arizona beats them up, wears them down. Even if they've beaten Arizona, they've turned around and lost the next game. 4-12 after playing the Wildcats this year inside the Big 12. So there's a note. I love little notes like that. Paul, Craig, you said, where do they come up with some of this? I guess it's just because of feeding information into a system and it spits it out as soon as they ask.
Yeah, a computer has to do some of that because there's no way you're just sitting around just going, well, I wonder how many times 44 points exactly. Like, why 44? Like, given if that was the final score and you go off of that or something like that. But, yeah, it just seems very random to some of these stats. But, it's been a wild run in the Big 12. It's been a crazy race. And Arizona, congrats to them on being the regular season champions. Been bittersweet to watch some of these teams start to kind of slowly lose their grip. You mentioned earlier about like the the beating each other up, and I'm sure there's something to that. But like, what are you gonna do about it? You're just getting lauded for your scheduling like a week ago. Now you're gonna turn around and say, oh no, now they've done it too tough. Injuries happen. You've had a couple really big ones that are definitely affecting, I think, the overall race. Not to say Arizona wouldn't have still won it anyways, but certainly if you add a healthy JT Toppin and a healthy Richie Saunders, like BYU's not losing. What feels like, just off the top of my head, is what have they lost? Like, let's see, like 11 of their last 14 or something like that.
BYU?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I had that.
Probably a little high there, but I don't think I'm off by much.
Like 8 of 13 or something.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that.
it's I'm a little
Here it
high.
is. They've lost 9 of 13 games, and they've lost 3 in a row.
So not that far off.
Yeah,
But it's been a tough slog for them.
We are now joined by Stacy Dales, NFL Network, and what a week it was at Indianapolis. And you see the kind of coverage that they give you, the NFL, and Stacy Dales was right in the middle of it. I have met her on a few occasions when she was also broadcasting from some of the Big 12 women's basketball tournaments and women's basketball NCAA tournaments. She joins us now with Craig Smoak and David Smoak on 365 Sports. Stacy, thank you very much. After that event is over, do you decompress at all? Do you go home and I don't know what you do, because I know it's a constant 24/7 type run for you.
Yeah, you know what? It's good to be with you, fellas, and you couldn't have hit it more on the head in terms of this event. It's an absolute beast. I honestly sometimes look back at it and think, now I'm not a first responder, I'm not saving lives. I always like to say that, but it's a massive event, from the availability sessions, which are roughly 4 to 4.5 hours every morning for 4 days or whatever it is, to our 5 to 6 hour live shows 4 days in a row. It's an event that requires significant sleep after and shutting my phone down. So that's kind of what I did on Monday.
Stacy, these guys are getting really good at the 40. I mean, this is that was a blistering weekend, and we know that there is a difference now. These players have been seemingly training for the combine since they were like high schoolers, almost in some ways. How much do you glean from the combine itself when you see these 40s? How much do you take away in terms of what you hear, what you see, and how it all works in the end?
Well, most of these young men, it's a great question. Most of these young men have to perform because they're not guaranteed a top 10 spot in the NFL draft. So the vast majority of them, it's critical for them. And so the training that leads up to this is incremental. Now, for the guys that do it, the top performers that do it, I just pat them on the back, because what it embodies to me is a level of competitiveness that we're just gamers. Like when I see a guy like David Bailey go and run the 40, or Sonny Styles go and run the 40, maybe they could bypass that and save it for their pro day. And those are conversations each and every individual has with the agent. But when you meet a guy like Sonny Styles out of Ohio State, you learn very quickly how competitive he is and how much he has nothing to hide, and he wants to go out and showcase it on the biggest stage. The best example, though, guys, may have been Jeremiah Love, who's exceptional. I mean, he is in every dimension of the position / an offensive weapon that you can get at the next level. And he's got this moxie and this aura about him that I think is really unique, having had the opportunity to spend time with him. And then he goes out and does everything. And I remember finishing the drill and I'm like, let's get him on camera. And I get to pick kind of who I want with my producer. And it's really a lot of fun for me. And I said, so you're not doing the pro day, right, at Notre Dame? And I'm going to his pro day. And he's like, no, don't need to. I'm done. He's like, he did it all. He did it all. He had an incredible 40. He had outstanding smooth drill work. And then if you watch his tape, it speaks for itself.
Stacy, you not only cover the events, the times, all of the stuff that goes on, and so does the network, but you also have to do a lot of homework on a lot of these players, because there's a good chance you're going to interview them and need to know, and that's part of the job of being a broadcaster. How much do you cram and study leading up to that event, like you would maybe a game, but this time it's for a week-long event?
So, great question. I'm an unpacker right away. So as soon as I get back from a trip, I unpack. I have not finished unpacking. And I actually threw my cards. I'll grab them to show you guys. They are completely strewn about on my floor. And this is just a,
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah.
This is just a fraction of my cards. They're all over the floor. I like to go back and alphabetize them for the next coming draft season. But I create profiles on at least 150 of the top players. And the Super Bowl ends for me. So I was finished in San Francisco covering the Seahawks, who ended up winning. I'm on a red eye back to Chicago. I take one day, and then Tuesday I hit the ground running. And I literally for 2 weeks, when you talk about cramming, it's more of a deep dive into these young men, their stories, what they like to do as hobbies, listening to interviews that they conduct with the likes of people like yourself, and so on and so forth. And then by the time I get to the week of the combine, I have a really nice portfolio on each of them that I sort of marry with our research packet. So when you think of a guy like the aforementioned, who can I pull out of a hat? David Bailey, who I think had the second most pressures in the FBS, 79, I think it was. All these little nuggets are stuck in my brain, but they're all on my card. Plus, he likes to cook. He cooks for his teammates. Oh, this guy's a chef in the Jamaican culture of food, little things like that. And then I get to interview them. I put all those interview nuggets on my cards per the guy. And that's how I weave in and out of the broadcast with Rich and DJ.
You mentioned David Bailey. Texas Tech pretty well represented in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Really great class for them. Your thoughts on just the Red Raiders from David Bailey to Jacob Rodriguez and so on and so forth, of just kind of what Joey McGuire's been putting together and what you can expect from them come April.
Love that you brought this up. I actually had a coach come up to me on the field and asked me what Romello Heights' time was. You guys know Romello.
Oh, yeah.
He had an incredible pro day, and he isn't David Bailey, and he isn't Jacob Rodriguez, and he isn't Lee Hunter, but he has been very impressive. That defense was an absolute beast, and I love all of those guys. Lee Hunter was one of my favorite interviews. The big guy plugs up the middle. Just his gratitude for his family and his journey. And I think he's going to be a really nice cog in the middle of some team's defensive front. But I found the most interesting story of them all to be Jacob. I mean, you guys know his story. Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker who won everything. When it comes to the Lombardi, the Butkus, what am I missing? I mean, he won every defensive award you can get defensively in college football. But he was a quarterback. And he's from the Lubbock area originally. He was a quarterback that goes to Virginia, think Taysom Hill, doesn't play, plays wide receiver, tight end, running back, enters the portal at a certain point, and there's no buzz. So he decides to go back to Texas Tech, where the only space they had for him was as a defensive player, therefore a linebacker. So he sleeps on his brother's floor, because remember, he's from that area, for an entire semester, he told me. And he becomes the best linebacker in the NFL, in the college football world, per all the awards that he won. Nagurski is the other one I forgot, big one. So, and his wife is a Black Hawk pilot in the Army, for God's sakes. Thank you for your service. So it just a lot of cool stories. Texas Tech, though, is certainly a powerhouse defensively.
It was cool. We were able to get her on the show about a week after they won the Big 12 championship, and what a great story that she was. Absolutely, just an incredible story, and the way that they feed off of each other. I was in the post game after they won the Big 12 title, Stacy, and every one of those players is still very low key. They're excited, but it was a business for them, but they enjoyed it no matter how stoic at times they were.
Yeah, they were so fun to watch. Just the way they all played in unison, and then just the people that are coming out of that group. I mean, David Bailey's actually quite quiet, very soft-spoken. He graduated from Stanford in 3 years, and really intelligent. And he brought that over to Texas Tech, where they just absolutely used him as a machine on their defensive front. But I'm glad you had her on, Emma, because Jacob was telling us, going to be deployed in May, and I have nothing but respect for her, trained in medvac, an assault pilot training as well. Like, she is just an absolute, like we said to Jacob, she's kind of a badass, right? And he goes, no, she is a badass.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
much respect to her and what she's doing for our country.
There was a lot of moments that we could ask you about from the Combine, but one that, I mean, there was a lot of viral moments, and you received a lot of praise for your reporting, did an incredible job, and a lot of people took notice, which was very cool to see. But I guess one was Mike Washington breaking down from Arkansas, and I guess what else? I mean, among that type of a moment, what else kind of stood out to you from your very busy weekend and all these interviews and just all these different things that were occurring?
There's so many things. It's hard to pick them out of a bucket. And the Mike Washington thing was amazing. I got very emotional watching him because, like I said when we started our chat, fellas, that, you know, when I have a player tell me I've worked my entire life for this moment, I mean, think about us as humans. Like, what do we work towards? What is our end goal? And therefore, not our end goal, the launching pad for us in our journey. And that was really emotional for me. I also just think of, you know, guys like Talon Green, right? The quarterback out of Arkansas, his teammate, who, okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're 6'6", whatever beautiful frame that you have, and we know you're a dual threat quarterback. What are you going to come out here? Are you going to show us that you're the most athletic quarterback, or are you just going to be kind of in the mix? He came out and showed us that he was the most athletic, and now he's going to be quite the evaluation for a team. Like, imagine if some team like the Baltimore Ravens draft him to back up Lamar Jackson. I mean, it's really fascinating because the things you can do with him and his legs. And he had a career-high passing touchdowns this past season for Arkansas. So stories like that. I was obviously really impressed with the Styles brothers. I thought it was particularly graceful of Lorenzo, the older brother of Sonny, to go out and, hey, kind of say, hey, don't forget about me. Don't forget about me, right? Like, I've only played defense at Ohio State for a couple seasons. I was a wide receiver at Notre Dame, and everybody wants to know, he told me this, oh, like, well, do you have the chops? Have you played enough defensively? He's like, yeah, the thing in the meetings was I want to show off my football IQ, and I want to show on the field my athleticism. He did that. So that was really awesome. My guy out of Oklahoma, Deion Burks, I was so happy for him, not only because I'm a Sooner, but he absolutely ran a blistering 40. And his story, you know, to be the reason he played football was because of his mom. God rest her soul. Also sharing the name Deion, same smile. And for him to do something like that in honor of his mom and perform the way he did, as he and I discussed, was really moving for me. But I could, guys, continue and go all the way down the line with so many of these remarkable athletes that we're getting in the NFL.
So as far as the draft itself goes, what do you find to be, I mean, I think the number one overall pick's kind of, there's no real doubt about that at this point in time, but what is perhaps a team or a position of a team that you find to be of interest right now leading into the draft and kind of looking at how this thing could unfold? Well,
certainly free agency works hand in hand with the draft. So next week will give us indicators. It'll give us flags as to what an approach may be based upon what they do in free agency. So I never get ahead. I never put, you know, the cart before, I put the horse before the cart before the horse in this conversation, just because I have to take it each step. Sure. And free agency is a big tell. But I think you mentioned the quarterback. We haven't talked a lot about Mendoza here. He, you know, is going to go to the Raiders. I found my conversation with him to be very interesting. He's taking all of this still like an interview and a business meeting. Over the next 6 weeks, he told me, you know, I'll paraphrase him, but like, I don't want to be the best quarterback by April. I don't want to be the best quarterback by the time the draft happens. I want to be the best quarterback in September. So, you know, for a guy that didn't play under center a whole lot, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he attacks that when rookie OTAs come around, which, you know, it's hard to even talk about that right now for me, but that's a reality. The other quarterbacks in this class are still interesting to me. I thought Ty Simpson had really an excellent day at the Combine. I thought he showed off what he really most wanted to show off was his arm range. He told me, I mean, people don't think I have a big arm and I want to show it. So I like that those guys went out and did that kind of thing. as far as, how these players fall, I think Ruben Bain is an interesting study just because, I have conversations with scouts about arm length, and much has been made about his arm length. I just think his motor is so incredibly powerful that I don't know if the arm length is a concern for everybody, at least that I talk to. And then I would say in the same breath, like Arvell Reese and David Bailey, there were guys that were, showed up on the combine day in terms of edge rushers, guys that impressed. But when you put the eye test on them on the field, those two are in another class as far as how quickly they move and the immediacy with which they jump, and the first step that they take and the way that they turn, their bodies turn, and the way they bend and they turn. My eye test on them was like, they are really fast and they're really powerful men. And so Arvell, to me in particular, is going to be really interesting because out of Ohio State, another powerhouse with so many players coming in and performances from the combine. He was basically almost like 50-50 in terms of playing off the edge or off the ball, but he also dropped in coverage, a certain amount of snaps. So, like, where is he used? What kind of defensive front? Which I don't really buy into too much anymore because I think they're so multiple, the defensive fronts in the NFL. But certainly that group, those edge rushers, are really deep in this class, and those three that I just mentioned are going to go right at the top.
Last question for you. You studied communications and media studies when you were at Oklahoma. You were a great basketball player. You then became a broadcaster, and that's when I've met you at one of the basketball tournaments, Big 12, maybe women, or a tournament in Oklahoma City. But you wanted to do this. You wanted to play basketball, but this is what you wanted to do. Was it an easy transition for you along the way?
I think just talking, my human nature is to do this kind of stuff. But, the NFL was really hard to navigate when I started. The season I'm entering is now my 18th. So I've been here for a long time. Started back in 2009. It was hard. I didn't know about the NFL. I didn't know enough about the NFL. And of course I knew enough to understand, like, this is the best sport on the planet. Yet I was a basketball player, covered a lot of different things, college football, never really stepped into the NFL per se. And it is a family, and it is a very niche field. And so earning the trust right away was really important to me, of the teams and the players, but it took a while. It took a while for my network to trust me. And though once I went on the road and I sort of ingratiated myself and saturated myself with the teams and the players, we just went up from there. And I'm so grateful now because I love it. I love the league. I love the players. I love the coaches. I'll have their backs always. Journalistically, I'm going to be, certainly diplomatic in how I approach things. But there's a little part of me that's an athlete first. And I really love the players and the coaches and the teams in this league.
Stacy, last one from me. You mentioned Oklahoma. You're an Oklahoma Sooner through and through. Your thoughts on seeing them in the SEC and just kind of what that's looking like early on, and making the playoff. Although it was up and down, but it's a whole new world. But how fresh and exciting and interesting do you find the Sooners in the SEC?
It's a big boy league and big girl league. Whether I'm watching my Sooner women play with Jenny Baranchek, or I'm watching the men. I just had the men on the other night against Missouri. Or I'm watching, coach, work through the transition of where we're at Oklahoma with, obviously we're going to have a new athletic director. Joe Castiglione was my guy, and shout out to him. But the SEC is no joke. The SEC is hard to win in, and when you do it, you better appreciate it and figure out what that formula was, because somebody else is coming after your neck. And I see it now. I see it. It's a tough landscape to win. And I thought the Big 12 was hard when I was there, and it was. But right now the SEC is unparalleled. And I've always got my Sooners on in the background. Boomer.
I know you got some work to do outside of this. Thank you very much, Stacy, for your time. We appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week.
Appreciate you guys. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Stacy Dales on 365 Sports. one day after another. You see those information cards? When I was in college, when I was studying for some of like kinesiology and physiology, yeah, I was paying attention and did well on the test, but cards like that, not quite like bigger index cards is how I would flip them. Questions, answers, and I would do that, crushing it 2 or 3 nights before a test and then put it all down. And it's amazing how much I would remember all that.
Yeah, you're just talking about flashcards. That's what everybody did. But yeah, I mean, cool insight there. Cool dog in the background.
I forgot to ask.
Had the U.S. and Canada jerseys, the hockey jerseys there in the background because I believe she's dual citizen. And yeah, the cool shot of the note cards there. She was incredible at the combine. Like, I don't know how many people watched it, especially like all the way through, but a lot of viral moments. And I'm not saying she was incredible because she went viral a lot, because people do that, and sell their souls to do that. But she just does it because she's good. Like, as somebody that's in the media, that sees a lot of these people off screen and everything. And when you're in it, it's not as big of a deal. It's not like, oh my God, there's Colin Cowherd. Oh wow, it's like, that's just Colin Cowherd. Like, whoever. I'm not starstruck by her, but I love her. Like, I think she's freaking amazing.
Yep.
I think she's like one of the best in the business, and I would have said that if we had never had her on the show. Like, I've thought for a long time now that she's one of the best reporters out there and does a hell of a job with the NFL. And everything else she was doing prior to that as well when she was earlier in her career. So, yeah, cool to have her on. And I know that there's probably some of our audience is not – the SEC's not the – well, I mean, but the SEC part of it. They're like, I don't know about all that. But, no, I mean, she's great. She's awesome.
2-time Big 12 Player of the Year. Yeah. Like you said, a great basketball player. She was from Brockville, Ontario.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. So, yeah, she had both the Canada and U.S. hockey jerseys sitting there in the background. So, yeah, very cool time talking to her. And she did an amazing job at the combine and obviously did her homework. Showed us the proof right there with all those flashcards. So, yeah, hats off to her and keep up the good work.
I mentioned it. It was in Oklahoma City, and I'm covering the women's tournament, and she was one of the analysts at the time, along with what she was getting to be able to do with the NFL Network. So we would broadcast from a table in the lobby of the hotel, and I'm doing the show, and she sits down at next to the table, and commercial break. I'll go, how you doing? Hope you. And she goes, hey, I got time if you want me to jump in. And she came on 2 or 3 different times, and unbelievable guest for us. Thank you. A lot of you also acknowledging that. Thank you very much for doing that in the chat room. Also, Willie Fritz comes up today at 4 o'clock, and then I mentioned Rick Newheisel. I've tried to get a hold of him all throughout last year when he was in the studio for CBS Sports. Never really could get him. And then all of a sudden he responds to a text from me over the weekend. So look forward to that with him too. His thoughts about college football, but also the Desperados in what he's doing, the Renegades, the UFL Renegades with his being a head coach, taking over for Bob Stoops, by the way. And, someone who's one of Troy Aikman's best friends is Rick Newheisel. We'll discuss a lot of that with him. When we come back, Willie Fritz and much more. This is 365 Sports. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. How? 1 out of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. It's part of father time, and it might be you that has it. Some might never know. But if you have low testosterone, it can lead to some of these symptoms or a lot of them. Lack of energy, sex drive is not the same. Performance, if you have that, is not the same. You're not sleeping the same. You're not focused as well. And a lot of that is because, and can be, your T level has dropped. Contact Dr. Petty at PettyClinicLowT.com. Tell him I sent you. And he then will get in touch, set up an appointment for you to give your blood, get your blood to him, the results to him, or the blood vials to him. He'll get the results and get back in touch with you if, in fact, your T level is too low. Because if it is, some of that could be creeping up on you, or all of it, and then, man, you're a mess. It's Dr. Kent Petty at PettyClinicLowT.com.
Check, check, check. Okay, that's it. Check, check, check. Okay. All right, it's number.
Are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
This is 365 Sports.
By the way, a couple of things. On this set, when I come back early, before a liner, which you just heard, an after spot return is what we call it, and they'll have sponsors. If I come back before it's done, interrupt it, $1 right here. There's $2 in the pot right now.
All right, I got a little bit of breaking news. This is where we definitely need some breaking news sounder. I think this applies. This is not anything other than just a sad story. So it's not major changes in Cody Campbell's forming a Super League or Notre Dame's joining a conference, but it does have to do with Notre Dame, and I think this does apply.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, Lou Holtz has passed away at the age of 89. Statement coming out. Lou Holtz, the legendary college football coach who led the University of Notre Dame to the 1988 National Championship, has passed away at the age of 89. One of the most affable coaches of his generation, Holtz won 249 games as a collegiate head coach, with 100 of those victories earned at Notre Dame. From 86 through 96, led the Irish to the 88 national title with a 12-0 record, capped by a victory over, cover your ears, West Virginia fans, West Virginia in the 1989 Fiesta Bowl. And it goes on and on, his accolades. But University of Notre Dame president, Reverend Robert A. Dowd, CSC, says, Notre Dame mourns the loss of Lou Holtz, a legendary football coach, a beloved member of the Notre Dame family, and devoted husband, father, and grandfather, and obviously he had other stops along the way as well, but I think most people best know him as the Notre Dame head coach and ESPN analyst and various other stops along the way. But, yeah, Lou Holtz, he's passed away at 89, man. Rest in peace.
You almost went there.
I did a little bit, yeah. Just out of respect, a tip of the cap to Lou Holtz. My mouth's a little drier than like 10 years ago when I was able to do the impression a little bit better. I don't know why that is. Maybe I need to get that looked into. Why is my mouth drier than 10 years ago? But no, it's just.
It was great what you did. Yeah.
No, it's Lou Holtz. But yeah, he's a legendary figure, and he's unfortunately no longer with us, guys.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
He an incredible personality, a character. He wasn't by any means without some controversy. As a head coach where he was, Arkansas, of course, and NC State. That you mentioned Notre Dame, and then became a studio analyst. Remember Ryan Day got on his grill one time?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to know what Lou Holtz is doing right now or something like that when he questioned them. But an icon in college football. And it's sad to hear. We had that pop up about a month ago. I think maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago, people were kind of starting to say he had been in decline in the family. Then, of course, today, the news that Lou Holtz has passed away. We are now joined by Houston football coach Willie Fritz. And, Coach, it's always great to have you. Craig Paul, David Smoak, 365 Sports. And if you don't mind, we just found out the news about Lou Holtz passing away. And your thoughts about, did you ever meet him, have conversations with him, and your thoughts about him?
You know, I saw him a couple times at the convention. Obviously, he's an icon in our business. I know his son, Skip, very well. Skip's a fantastic guy, and I just saw him a few months ago at our strength coaches service over in New Orleans. He was our strength coach. Kurt Hester was Skip's longtime strength coach at Louisiana Tech. But I've heard nothing but great things about Coach Holtz, and he sure did add a lot to the game without question.
Coach, you are getting ready for spring. How much differently do you approach it now that everything has changed? And how many old aspects of spring do you keep, and what are your new aspects of spring when it comes to setting up the schedule?
Yeah, what has changed? You guys go over that stuff with me.
I mean, like no spring games at all?
Yeah. This little portal thing.
Yeah, everything's changed, hasn't it? We're going to have pretty much a regular spring. At some point in time, I do think it's going to go to OTAs or football school, whatever you're talking about, and then maybe a little bit more of the helmet, shoulder pad stuff in the summer. But, the big thing that we try to do is be as physical as we possibly can, staying on our feet and staying injury-free. So we're going to, majority of the big injuries occur body-to-ground contact, not body-to-body contact. So a big deal to us is staying on our feet all the time. And, there's a lot of, there's some guys that are going to get a truckload of reps in, fast tempo type drills, unit drills, inside 7-on-7, team, half line, 1-on-1. And there's going to be some guys who may not get quite as many reps who have played a ton of football for us. So we kind of know how many snaps a guy's taking. And a few years ago, I had a guy that started, I think it was 63 or 64 games for me at Tulane. That was including the COVID year. So he actually played 5 years. They didn't count that season. And so that last year, spring ball, I was just trying to keep him healthy. He's been there, done that, seen it all. It's like a 10-year rep, a 10-year vet in football, an NFL, giving him a truckload of reps, during preseason camp. So, we want to, our number one goal is to keep everybody healthy and be able to get into the summer and pump iron and lift weights. But there's also got to be that, that physical component that is so important with football.
Do you have a particular opinion on how the off-season workouts should be spaced or done, whether it's the OTA format or traditionally spring ball as it is now? What's Willie Fritz's thoughts on what you'd like to see moving forward in the offseason for your program?
I was a strength coach for 15 years. I was at a lot of schools where we didn't have other people besides the 3 or 4 coaches, and I've always enjoyed doing that. The thing that the schedule is going to be predicated on when the portal is going to be open. And right now, I think, with just the one window in January, I think having spring football is very good. But, they're talking about moving it back a couple months or doing it in May or whatever. And then I think the schedule will change if and when they do that. So I love getting the guys in the weight room. And, Benny Wiley, I'm sure some of you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Wiley, from Mejia, right down the street from you. And he's, he played for my old coach, Ron Randleman, at Sam Houston State, and was also a track athlete. Was with the Cowboys and assistant strength coach for 3 years, was a head strength coach at Texas Tech and Texas and Tennessee and Oklahoma and USC. So he got great experience. And, I love, just getting those guys, running, getting faster, getting quicker, getting stronger. Some guys putting weight on, some guys losing weight, changing their body composition. And Benny has done an excellent job. The other thing I liked about Benny is he was, good friends and shared a lot of information with Kurt Hester as well. We've got a good staff in place, and I have my coaches going there a bunch. I want the running back coach around the running backs when they're working out, the linebacker coach around the linebackers when they're doing their stuff, and I think it helps for team building, team morale as well.
Yeah, you named off some of the all-time great programs that he's been a part of and successful. How much does the strength and conditioning coach have to almost be like a mother with eyes in the back of their head for you?
Big time. The NCAA, one of the better things that they've done is allow the coaches to go in the weight room and watch them lift and watch them run and do things like that. At one time, they didn't let you do any of that stuff. You couldn't go in the weight room, 7, 8, 9 years ago. And then the other thing that's good is you get to have some football school and you get to have a football out there for 2 hours. You can't do anything competitive, but it allows the new guys, and we're really fortunate. I've got the same offensive, defensive, and special team coordinators, so there's carryover. But yeah, the strength coach, you talk about guys and what they can improve on. And, Benny's in all of our staff meetings, and we talk about our roster every single day. And we were going over the comparison between a GPS time of 21 miles an hour and what that would equate to in a 40-yard dash time. So he gives us a lot of information. We do hydration testing with these guys every morning, so that we know heading into the workout who is dehydrated at the moment. And, we make sure we do a good job of hydrating them so that we don't get those soft tissue injuries. So he's very, very involved in what we're doing. I want him to be involved. And, a little bit of my background, I can, sometimes I'm big on, I like analytics. I hear some coaches say they can't stand analytics. I wish I could have put a number on everything, but it's great where a strength and conditioning coach can really, a lot of the things they do is objective. Last week you did 4 reps at 285 on the squat, and this week you did 4 reps with 300. Well, you got stronger, so I wish I could do that with everything.
How much is analytics a part of confirming what your coaching gut tells you?
Big time. There was an article in The Athletic today about analytics, and I got into it a long time ago. And and I don't follow it 100%. There's sometimes there's a deal in a game called momentum, and you got to feel that. And I think with my experience, I can feel that sometimes. Maybe you're having a hard time stopping them, or maybe you're, you don't want to go another quarter or go overtime. Maybe it tells you to go for one and play for overtime since you're the home team and you're favored or whatever. And heck, you're having a hard time stopping them. Hey, I'm going to go for two and, try to get the win that way. So it's not the, everything, analytics, but I do think, it's when you put a number to your ability to convert and their inability to stop you, and it's 71% to 29%. Hey, I'm going to go with it the majority of the time, but it's not it's not something we do 100%, but it's pretty close. I think it's foolish not to, but you got to work on those situations and scenarios all the time. We talk about being situational masters, here at the University of Houston, and understand these situations. And we had a great drive at the end of the first half against LSU in our Texas Bowl victory. And we'd gone over that same scenario a couple of times, minus a few seconds, here or there, during the course of the season. So the guys have been there, done that. And it's good to see what you work on come to fruition.
You've got a very solid portal class that you brought in, got a lot of attention for some of the players you brought in, but that reunion with Mekhi Hughes, what's that like? How excited are you to be coaching him once again after a little bit of a break there? And how excited are you to have him as a part of, the various guys that you've brought in now these past couple of months or so?
Well, Mekhi's a great young man. He's a hard worker. He's a tough kid. Had great seasons for us at Tulane. So, it's one of the things when you bring somebody in, two parts of being a great recruiter. You gotta be a great talent evaluator, and you gotta be an information gatherer. Well, the information gathering I didn't have to do with him. I knew about his parents, his upbringing, where he went to high school, his work habits in practice, how he is in the weight room, how he approaches class, all those different kind of things. And same thing with Shadre Hurst. Shadre, played for me over at Tulane as well, and was he's first team preseason All-American. So it's great to have a guy that you're really comfortable with. Otherwise, you got to really dig, into a guy's background and make sure that you're bringing in someone that's going to, help your culture get better rather than dragging it in the dirt. And that's something we're very cognizant of here at the University of Houston, is bringing in the right guys. I have no desire to coach guys I don't like being around. It's something that the NFL gets to draft guys and pick guys. We could also pick guys. When I coached high school ball, you had to, do a good job of, molding and shaping guys that were walking the hallways. In college, sometimes you have to do that, but most of the time, if you do a good job with, gathering information, about that guy inside and out before he gets to your place.
You've won everywhere you've been. That's what you do. You just have a knack, and some coaches do, and there's usually a reason, because they know what they're doing and they know how to build or rebuild or renovate. Why do you think you win, Willie? What anything in particular? You're not going to brag on yourself, but why do you think you win?
Well, I've had some really great opportunities. There's a bunch of great coaches out there. There really are. Coaching middle school, high school, junior college, D3, 2, 1AA, group of whatever they call it now, power, whatever they call it now. So I've been very fortunate to get some of these jobs. But I do enjoy the challenge of going into a program where maybe things haven't been going well, and you get an opportunity to, turn it around and hopefully hand it off, to somebody, in 2035 when I retire here from the University of Houston. I can turn it over to somebody, and the program's better than when I found it, But I think the big, it's not a secret. It's consistency, doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and whether it's your strength and the other part that's helped me is I've been at some places where we didn't have all these bells and whistles. I got incredible facilities here at the University of Houston. I mean, unbelievable. But, I've been some other places that I've coached at, like Blinn Junior College, is me and 2 other guys. We coached the whole team. So I was a strength coach, and, I tape the ankles, I, line the field. And, so I got a little bit of knowledge in what everybody does. And I think that's helped me out as well.
When you hire coaches, when you have to do that, does your history make it easier for you to look at more candidates instead of saying this guy has to have done this, and this, because you maybe have a different instinct for their coaching prowess than maybe others would who want to see certain boxes ticked on a resume?
I really try to do a good job of finding somebody that I know well who's worked with this guy and is going to tell me the truth. Because just like you don't want to bring in a player who's a problem, you don't want to bring in a coach who's a problem or an issue or isn't a good role model and mentor to our student athletes. So I really, pride myself in trying to find. It's like Benny Wiley, okay, Coach Randleman. He's like my dad. He said unbelievably great things about Benny. His wife, Coach Randleman's wife, said great things about Benny. And I'm good friends with Mac Brown, and I talked to Mac. He said great things about Benny. I trust Mac, and I called, I talked to Lincoln Riley. He said fantastic things. So, it's, when you're hiring a coach, you better hire a great person first and foremost, who you want to be in that foxhole with, and then start looking and seeing what kind of prowess they have, schematically, technique, fundamentally, because that's very important too. But there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. The first thing you want is someone that you can work with. And by and large, I've done a pretty good job of that. I've goofed that up a couple times. I won't tell you who, but most of the time I've done a pretty good job of hiring good people who are also really good coaches.
So I'm sure you're going to get asked this if you haven't already like 1,000 times over the next few months, but what's it like to deal with, I know you have the highest of expectations for your own program, but now to have outsiders have expectations for you guys, I know you probably don't care, but that can leak through. So how do you handle a team that maybe nobody was looking too hard at a year ago, and now they're saying, oh, well, this team's, because of this, that, and the other, in contention for the Big 12 title?
Well, that's good. That's called progress. We want people to have high expectations for our program year after year after year after year. So we welcome it.
Willie, you've taken care of your staff, which also means Houston's taking care of making sure you can take care of your staff. And the winning and the momentum is there. We've had Sean Bell on, among many others that you have. The coordinators got a bump as well. How huge is that Houston's giving you that opportunity?
I think it's great. We want to compete for a national championship here at the University of Houston. We've got unbelievable facilities. We play in an outstanding league. I think the Big 12 is a great league. I think we got screwed last year. We should have had at least 2 teams in the playoffs. But we're also at the epicenter of football in the world, Houston, Texas. I believe that every place that I've ever been, I've always said that's the place right there, Houston. You can find a ton of great players there. So, I'm glad our university, our president, she wants to win in everything, and then our athletic director, Eddie Nunez, has done a fantastic job. So I was glad that they helped my coaches out, because I want to keep these guys around here at the University of Houston. They're really good people and really good coaches.
How much, and I know we have just a couple more minutes at the most, thank you very much as always. How has NIL impacted recruiting versus relationships with the recruits?
Oh, it's impacted a bunch. That's a part of it. Is it all of it? No. Hey, some people it is all of it. That's the only thing they're worried about. Probably not going to fit in here at the University of Houston, how we do things. But it is very important. That's a big part of my job now, is going out and raising money and talking to people and trying to get more people involved with NIL. one of the things that I've tried to do is adapt over the years, and this is one of the things that I've had to adapt to. You can sit around and bitch and moan about it, and you're going to get worse and worse and worse. That's part of it right now. So, we want to be great in that area too. We got some work to do, but we're working towards getting better and better at that area.
Last thing for me, Connor Wigman and the year he had that solidified and stabilized who you were at quarterback. You have the young phenom coming in and Henderson as well. But how much did Connor, you didn't have to worry about that. He wasn't perfect, but you didn't have to worry about that. That's the trigger. That's the guy that pulls the trigger. Your thoughts about what he meant?
He had a fantastic season for us. The bowl game, there was one play where the ball kind of slipped out of his hand. It probably would have been a touchdown throw. And we ended up scoring later on the drive. That was really the only mistake he made in the whole game. The quarterback touches the ball every single play. I thought it was an excellent outing by him. One of the top quarterback games, I think, in the country last year. He really, really, really played well. The thing we're excited about is this is really the first off season that he has gone through in its entirety. He's been banged up the last few years, had some surgeries or, some rehab or whatever the case may be. He really wasn't full speed for us last year until spring ball began. And the other thing we're excited about with Connor is that he's playing in the same offense. Slade Nagel, our offensive coordinator, Sean Bell, our quarterback coach, they're both back. We're going to be running the same system. We're going to be putting in some tweaks here or there like everybody does, but he hasn't had that for a while. He's had a few different offensive coordinators at his last stop, and then this offense was new for him. So I think this will be the first time going on 4 years where he's run the exact same offense. So I'm very excited about that for Connor.
Will you be as hard on Michael Bishop as an assistant as you were perhaps when he was a player?
Yeah, Brian Bell.
Yeah, yep.
I don't have to. We've got a lot of great quarterbacks on our staff.
Mm-hmm.
The other day we were, Michael was throwing the ball to some of the wideouts. I said, "Man, you got a Davey O'Brien Award winner throwing you the ball over here. You're very, very lucky. We got some kind of what's that thing we got? The new jugs machine. What's that? Monarch. We got this Monarch machine, and we spent a whole lot of money on it. I said, man, we ought to just pay Michael and Brian Bell to instead of having that Monarch, because those guys throw a better ball than that machine does. But Michael, I'm very excited about having him here. Obviously, he and I are very close. I coached him in 95, 96, and we've maintained close contact ever since then. And he's going to really help our program out.
You've had some great ones, but you have had a great run too. And great to have you, Willie. We appreciate your access when we get it. Enjoy spring and a lot more. We hope to see you at Big 12 Media Days in Frisco.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go
Willie Fritz, head football coach at Houston. Just imagine in just a matter of years how they entered the conference. They had a win or two that they had, that they could celebrate. You don't know how long it's going to take. People can turn things around quicker than ever before. Indiana, of course, is the ultimate. But they're going to be good.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be really, really good. And I mean solid across the board. It's not this or it's that. Across the board, they have an opportunity to be stronger than they were last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think they showed some signs in year one that he was going to have some good wins and is going to have some success, but you still had some question marks. And I think last year you were like, okay, well, things are starting to fall in place. He's got his quarterback now. He's got a young quarterback behind that quarterback. The defense is playing well. They didn't even blink at losing their coordinators like that. If you would have not told anybody they lost Sheila Wood, would you have noticed?
No.
I mean, unless you're just paying strict attention, the Sheila Wood's no longer on the you wouldn't have noticed because they were still really good defensively. And that was a hell of a hire for Tech. So, both sides won in that ultimately, which is great. But, yeah, I kind of wondered they made a change at OC. I think that's where they've got to take the next big step is just overall offensively. They've got to be a bit more dynamic, I think, as far as the playmakers and stuff go. But you got guys like Amari Thomas. You got to replace guys like Tanner Koziel. So we'll see how that goes. But Mekhi Hughes is now added amongst their other transfers. They got, was it Walker, the wide receiver from Oregon State, to give them a tall option on the outside as well. So, yeah, I mean, I tried to figure out a way to fit it in there, but I didn't really have a way to fit it in there with just kind of the conversation going the way that it did. But I wanted to ask him, like, have you ever uttered the words "Google me, I win"? Or is that just a Kurt Cignetti thing? Because I think Willie Fritz could say the same thing.
Absolutely.
And people wouldn't go, wouldn't do anything but go, yeah, you do. You do win.
Do you know what I think the secret sauce is for Willie Fritz is, and I said this to him at Big 12 Media Days, he was a junior high PE teacher, and he still has the same personality as a junior high PE teacher, and I think that's a compliment. Nothing has changed him. He's still the same guy who cares about kids in the same way that he did back then. It's just different now. It's higher stakes than soccer during recess, but he just still has that demeanor, and there's no ego about Willie Fritz. I don't think that like his it's just a different type of the job, but it's still the same job to him in a lot of ways.
I don't think many of these super high-profile coaches, and Cignetti's different. Cignetti worked his way up, but there's a lot of other guys you see, like, they graduated, they started off as a GA at Georgia, and then they went to Florida for a couple of years, and they were like, it's like this dude was like, forget can I make this NIL deal work? That is small potatoes compared to, can I get a meal for like my offensive line, or else they're going to starve because they have no money, they're broke, we're at Blinn Junior College, and we can't give them anything. Like, spare me the boo-hoo over, oh, we got to pay the play. Like, I think he's a guy who's like, okay, fine. Like, that's not going to bother me one iota. Like, I've seen these guys struggle. Hell, they deserve it. I don't know if he's ever spoken about that really at length, but I mean, if you go JUCO ball, man, there is no grindier grind than JUCO ball.
No.
There's nothing promised to you in JUCO ball.
And
there's a bunch of misfits in JUCO ball.
And I remember, because I would go down there a lot for basketball or football, the facilities at Blinn, I mean, all due respect, some of them were really nice, beautiful place, actually, Bluebell country. But, yeah, it wasn't, like you said, he had the tape ankles and stuff like that.
Yeah, like it's just a different way of coming up, and he's an older coach compared to a Kirby Smart or a Dan Lanning or some guys like that. So he's been around and seen it all, and he knows what works and what doesn't for him and his system. And last year there were a couple of reasons why you might think, okay, maybe Connor Wegman doesn't pan out, and maybe he is kind of a bust, or maybe losing your defensive coordinator when your defense was like your calling card, maybe that's going to really hurt you. And it's like, oh, well, maybe actually the secret sauce is Willie Fritz. It's not Sheil Wood or name a player or a system or whatever. So, yeah, that dude could easily say, Google me, I win, just like Kurt Cignetti, and you'd be like, yeah, you do, Willie. You absolutely do. And he's one of my favorite coaches to talk to. It's good to see Houston having some success in football. We knew in basketball they were going to be A-okay, but you wonder. And last year they put together a hell of a year that I kind of kept waiting for it to fall off a cliff, and it never did. They just kept finding ways to win games to the point now where, I mean, I kind of feel stupid for asking the question because his answer was so short. But, yeah, they have expectations now. Like, if they're not one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league, that's a disappointment.
See, that's part of that old school mentality of his without trying to, like, make it. It was a short answer, but it was a good answer.
Yeah, no, it was a good answer. Anybody who asks questions, you don't like short answers because you're like, well, maybe that means they didn't like the question or whatever. But, no, I mean, he answered it in a succinct way that didn't really need elaboration. So, yeah, I'm excited about them and what they can do, and you have guys like Henderson waiting in the wings. So they're building something.
Henderson. By the way, his resume is unbelievable. Started out at Pittsburgh State, the Gorillas, which have an incredible history and tradition in football. They have Texas Tech to open up conference play on September 19th. They have Oregon State at home, then Southern, and then the Red Raiders in Lubbock the third week of the year. So
yeah, I've been looking at schedules. We're gonna see. I'm gonna start trying to dip into those a little bit more and get into maybe some predictions on what's what and what I think about at this point in time, and then maybe do it over again in the summer, like in August or something like that, because there's always a chance that things change. Guys get hurt, leave, whatever. Coaches get fired. So I think we'll do a spring preview of some sorts.
We will get back to that list that we were playing with yesterday, a little bit about who's going to be your coach in 2030 with the rest of the Big 12. We'll do that later on. Rick Newheisel He's now coaching again. His journey back to coaching again from when he played, of course, where he's been, UCLA and Colorado and Washington and elsewhere. He's next, a former CBS Sports studio host. He's next. This is 365 Sports. QC Kinetics make me feel good, can make you feel good. Do you have some sort of an ache or a pain that has just never gone away? It's not like you had a bone bruise and eventually just time healed it. Have you had something that you felt like was worse than, well, you can't get it fixed? You've had steroid injections in your back, and it doesn't make a difference after maybe 2 to 3 or 4 weeks. Are you feeling better or worse? Do you feel older than you should? I felt like that. Even though I felt like I was still in pretty good shape, my right hip bothered me every day, whether I was waking up or playing golf, and I got tired of it. Went to QC Kinetics back in September. They provide non-surgical, regenerative medicine treatments using your body, my body's own natural healing power. Platelet-rich plasma, stem cells. It has been a process, but it has worked, and I am thrilled with that. I now don't have the after-workout kind of, I don't have that night after playing golf, It works, taking what's inside of your body, your own natural biologics, and spinning it and putting it back in you. If you have an elbow that's been sore forever, your knee, your back, or like me, your hip, QC Kinetics, the numbers on the bottom of the screen, these people, these guys, these men, women, and they are fantastic. 972-972-8610, 713-913-5285. Free consultation. I promise you it works at QCkinetics.com.
I pitched in the major leagues for 24 years. And let me tell you, I can feel it in my joints. Shoulders, elbows, and knees. Trust me, pain doesn't retire when you do. I tried everything to get rid of the pain. Nothing worked until QC Kinetics.
Baseball legend Roger Clemens and other patients are getting lasting relief with QC Kinetics regenerative treatments. No surgery.
I trust QC Kinetics. You should too. Let's commit to getting rid of all the pain.
Schedule your free consultation today. QC Kinetics. Better starts here.
The time is now. It's time for a new ride at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr GMC Buick Cadillac.
Sierra blends the premium interior with the muscle of a true work truck, built to handle the job and look good doing it. It's why GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road. During our New Year New Ride sales event, qualified buyers can save $13,000 on a Sierra. Drive one home today for just $41,390.
Call now, get here now, or log on now for the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Pepperoni Magnifico. Pepperoni Magnifico. Marco's Pepperoni Magnifico. Classic and crispy cut pepperoni, 3 melty cheeses, all on our fresh made dough. And starting at just $12.99 for a large, it's no wonder Marco's was named America's favorite pizza chain.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts. Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
Are the adventurous. Determined are the leaders. Faithful are the healers. At Baylor, you'll find your calling, your people, and your purpose. Dare to be you, indeed.
This is 365 Sports.
Thanks to Willie Fritz, thanks to Stacy Dales, and soon we'll have Rick Newheisel, who is about to be the Dallas Desperados from the UFL head coach.
Renegades.
God dang, I keep saying that. Renegades, Dallas Renegades from the UFL. He'll join us here momentarily. We'll have the Super Chats, the Wheel, and Trivia, and much more today at around 5:30. If you have not hit the like button, please do. If you have not subscribed to our show, please do. And if you have, spread the word at your convenience. We would appreciate all of that. What do you, when I say Rick Newheisel, Paul, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Oh, UCLA.
Okay.
It is. I mean, I can think of maybe not. Maybe it's Colorado. There's so many things, but UCLA is what I think of.
Well,
That's the first thing I think of.
Yeah.
Because of his relationship with Troy Aikman and all that, and probably because I'm such a big Troy Aikman guy. That's why I think of it.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of that as well. UCLA and Colorado. I think of him last year, the moment of seeing his son, and what game was that? Do y'all remember the game UCLA won? And now it's escaping me, the big upset at the time. And it was just a really good feel-good moment seeing him on set as they were getting ready for the show to recap everything. And he's sitting there shedding tears, and his co-hosts are all patting him on the back and all of that because he's sitting there getting to watch his boy have a really big day. That was pretty cool last year. But, I think of UCLA and Colorado. I mean, I think probably like most people do. But now we're going to be thinking about, I guess, the UFL as well.
Yeah, we will be. And he'll join us here momentarily. You're right. His son took over part of the staff, and they had a huge win. And you just like when I don't know if there's anything like you can be under pressure, you can be in a big moment as a mother or father, but watching one of your own son or daughter in a moment like that it's hard. You can't match it.
It was Penn
can't
State,
match it.
yeah.
So,
thanks, guys. But it was Penn State that they won that close game, and that was a big victory because of, the fact that they had started making changes, and there was a season that was basically just a wash, and here was this feel-good moment, and certainly for him an extra special feel-good moment watching Jerry, interim coach UCLA, to this big victory. And little did we know, ultimately what that would all turn into for Penn State. The writing was very much on the wall, but what a good win that was for UCLA, and an otherwise very forgettable season for the most part.
Yeah, it was. And, of course, changes, part of the Big Ten. And still kind of at times, I don't forget that USC, UCLA, et cetera, are a part of the Big Ten, but at times it does escape my mind when I start thinking, wait a minute, you're right. They've been a part of the Big Ten, and hopefully they're getting themselves locked in to have a better year. We're now joined by Rick Newheisel. Rick Newheisel with us on 365 Sports, the Dallas Renegades of the UFL. He joins us. And, Rick, thank you very much. You're on with Craig and David, Paul as well, and we appreciate your time. Coach, you just couldn't get away from coaching, could you?
Guilty as charged, David. Guilty as charged. I'm enjoying it immensely. You know, the thing about spring football is no one's there that doesn't want to be there. It's because you love football. You're not ready to pack it in and head off into something else. We all understand that football will end for all of us, but I've been one of those fortunate ones that keeps hanging on, and hopefully this can be a productive year for our team. I have a bunch of try-hard guys that are all giving us everything, and for that I'm thankful, and I'm having a blast.
This is also a developmental opportunity, and I would assume from a coach who came from college that this working with guys who are just a little bit older and continue that development is something that really attracts you to the UFL, isn't it?
Well, there's no question about that, and I would even go further now. This might be the purest form of football we have left on the planet because every guy on this team is going to get paid the same thing. There's no prima donnas. There's nobody that's going to earn more than the next guy, and that's kind of how college football used to be, in the scholarship era, and yet now we're, seeing all exorbitant figures, and I'm not upset that players are getting paid. I just think it makes it more challenging for locker rooms when you have such a, vast range of salaries for these kids. And so for that, this is pure football, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
How much of an itch was there to scratch for the years that you were not coaching for the last several years, doing broadcasting and all of that? But did you always have a hankering or a knowledge of, like, I'm going to get back to this at some point? Or was there a time where you're like, I think I need to get back in, or I want to get back into coaching? How did that all kind of present itself?
I was fortunate, given the different jobs that I've been able to hang on to. My dad always accused me that I couldn't hang on to a job, but the CBS gig and the Sirius XM gig have been long-time relationships. So I've had teams, right? I have the guys that I work with at CBS, which has been a blast, and I have Chris Childers and the crew that we work together with on the Sirius XM radio show, Full Ride. That's been fun, and I get to talk a lot about football. So there's an itch that's being scratched. But as you know, when you get back into the belly of the beast, it's a wildly different deal. And to create the relationships that are being created with all the different guys that I'm getting to coach, and the guys that I used to coach with that I'm coaching with again, that's really, really cool stuff.
Rick, were you the one that told Bob Stoops when he was going to get into this league and coach again that he would enjoy it? Did I remember hearing you say that one time?
I think both Steve Spurrier and I both take a big attaboy for coaxing Bob Stoops into doing it, because, the ball coach and I, and by the way, the ball coach's son is on my staff.
Oh.
Scotty Spurrier is on my staff. But we both had such a good time in the Alliance of American Football that when the XFL came around and Bobby had the chance to do it, we both said, you're going to love it. Yeah, and he did. And I'm glad that whatever it was, he was, yearning to take his wife on maybe more vacations, came around at that time, because now I get to have this opportunity here in Dallas. And as we all know, Dallas is a great sports town.
Mm-hmm. I've got to ask you about Spurrier then. This is what I consider myself mature growth. I went to Florida State when I was at FSU. Coach Spurrier was the coach at Florida. And, of course, as a Florida State student, I hated his guts. Then when he left,
you didn't like that Free Shoes University line that he used, yeah.
But then when he left, something went away from the rivalry. It wasn't like that. Bowden and Spurrier, they had so much respect for each other, and they loved to needle each other. I just appreciate him so much more. Now I've become a huge fan of his. He is one of the quietly funniest guys in the world.
Oh my goodness!
The
needle.
Yeah,
he
can just drop it, right?
Like there's nobody's business. Yes, he is. So I got to meet Steve back in the late '90s, right when I first got my head job at Colorado, and I was looking for somebody in the country that was, coaching the quarterback that was also a head coach, because I didn't want to give up coaching the quarterbacks, and the top guy was Steve Spurrier. So I went out to say hello and, kind of see how he kind of managed his day, and saw that not only was he having a blast, he was taking his shirt off at practice and throwing one-on-ones with the quarterbacks. Wow. and finding time for golf in the afternoon. And the guy was a Renaissance man. I was like, okay, I want to be like him. And he kind of took me under his wing, and we became great friends. He got me onto this celebrity golf tour, and I got to start playing with a very small C in celebrity. But I got to start playing in these tournaments, and we became fast friends. Then I was fortunate enough to be at Nike schools, and Florida was a Nike school, so we all would go on these junkets at the end of recruiting and play golf on these trips with Phil Knight hosting, right? And he and I would always have these matches. And I remember losing to him in Cancun. So the trip would move all around the globe. And we're in Cancun, and it was the worst place to lose because the bus ride back to the hotel was 45 minutes. And I had to hear about that for 45 minutes. And I made a solemn vow to myself I would never lose to him again. And I don't know if I held true to that promise, but it was very rarely that the ball coach got the better of me on the golf course again.
At least if you lose a place with a short commute.
Oh, yeah, exactly. This was painful.
Yeah, I can't even.
Jim Donnan was the Georgia coach at the time, and he just says, you can't lose to him. It's a long time.
Can you try to explain the exhilaration, how proud with Jerry and UCLA and the big win they had last year?
Oh, goodness. That was a treat and then some. And I think I speak for all parents when I say, all we want, what's the old saying? You're only as happy as your least happy child, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when your child, in whatever it is that they want to do, whether they're in the school play, whether they're in the band, whether they're, coaching quarterbacks, or in this case, calling the plays against Penn State, in whatever they're doing, all you want to do is see them succeed, because you're there really to be there if they fall. Right? You want to enjoy the success, but you've got to be ready to be that arm around the shoulder when necessary. And yet you don't want to think that way. So you constantly are fighting these thoughts that are coming in. And shoot, that day they were a 25-point underdog to Penn State. The CBS guys had called me, because CBS did that game, called me the night before and said, hey, listen, in the second quarter, maybe you come on and talk about, Jerry and him growing up and all that kind of stuff, trying to find some fill, thinking that the game was going to be a one-sided, track meet in the favor of the Nittany Lions. And I said, sure. We come on in the second quarter, and it's a 17-play drive to score the third touchdown in the first half, and UCLA's ahead by 14. And I'm sitting there, am I being punked? Is this really happening? And at the end of the game, unbeknownst to me, and now we're getting close where this can finish and actually have a happy ending, they end up going for it, which was the quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, who basically just said, I just thought I could make it. And Jerry had called for a, freeze play with, see if we could get him to jump off sides and go for it. And Nico changed it to trying to go for it. So they gave the Nittany Lions the ball back inside the 30-yard line. And now I'm sitting there, rapt attention. The game ends in favor of the Bruins, and I got my hands up. I mean, I'm on a national broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
I got my hands up, and I'm going crazy, and I am still apologizing to the Nittany Lion fans for my lack of neutrality. I was not neutral that day. I was in the dad goggles line of work, and no apologies for wearing them. I just apologize I did it on national TV.
Well, hey, I think most people understood. Penn State fans, that's one thing, but I think most people understood, and it was definitely one of the coolest, I think, moments just in what was a very cool college football season that I keep having to pinch myself about, Coach, because I keep waking up every day and this team called Indiana is the national champions of college football, and I still have a hard time wrapping my head around that. How about yourself?
So it's incredible. The story is incredible when we just start to talk about Curt Cignetti and his career, right? He's a wide receiver coach for Alabama, and he leaves making $360,000 at the time to take a $140,000 job at IUPUI, okay? To go, and his wife is saying, no, you didn't. Go back and get your job. And yet he did. And then he gets, I think, to Elon from there, and then from Elon to James Madison, and then James Madison, where he had great success, to Indiana, where he brings 13 kids with him, who are the culture creators, right? Mm-hmm. And the schedule and his belief in the system and the 13 kids all combine for this incredible 11-2 season, which took him to the college football playoff, which was heaven on earth for Indiana fans. What more could we really hope for? And after that, they go 16-0. 16-0. They beat Ohio State in Indianapolis for the Big Ten title. They have more fans. 90% of the Rose Bowl was Indiana fans when they took on Alabama, and they bludgeoned them. Then they go across the country to the Peach Bowl, and 80% of the fans are Indiana fans as they take out Oregon for the second time in the year. And then they come to Miami to play Miami, and still more than 50% of the stadium is Indiana fans. It's an incredible story of what can happen when you believe it can happen, when you resource your expectations, when you get buy-in for a culture and the kids all help police the culture. it is a miraculous story, and it is one that we'll celebrate. It's a movie, and yet you wouldn't believe the movie if you made it. That can't happen.
No,
but Indiana is your national champ.
Does it make it more difficult for everybody that they turned it around as fast and quickly as they did?
It puts a lot more pressure on coaches. There's no question. But remember the Mean 13. Those 13 kids were spectacular in their assignment to come and change a culture at Indiana. And then, transfer portal being what it is, he went out and evaluated a bunch of, experienced guys. And there's going to be a lot of Indiana Hoosiers going in this NFL draft. So he didn't do it with mirrors. He did it with really good players. And but I was looking for a place to live here in Dallas, and this realtor was an Indiana grad. She went to all 3 games.
Wow.
She took out a second mortgage to go to all 3 games. That's the magic of college football.
Hopefully they can get the ticket prices down where they won't have to do that at some point.
You know, one thing I didn't know. I did not know Indiana had like the largest living
alumni. Well, it's because they combine all the University of Indiana, not just the one in Bloomington.
Yeah.
But they woke a sleeping giant.
Absolutely.
Is what they did.
And I would never have known that had it not been for the football success, obviously, the last couple of years. Paul?
Coach, I was just looking at your roster. We know a great deal of the players on your squad.
They're great kids.
Yeah,
they're great kids. I call them kids, but they are wonderful to be around.
We covered in high school T.J. Franklin and in college at Baylor.
He said he'll take me to Baylor games and I'll be treated like an important person.
Yeah, Matt Jones and Siaki Iko, both from Baylor. Sam Tecklin
is fantastic, and Matt Jones. We had a little scrimmage against the DC Defenders the other day. I think he made every tackle.
And Sam Tecklenburg from
Our
Baylor.
center.
Yeah,
Sammy's doing great. All 4 of those guys are having a great camp.
And you have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, in Luis Perez, who's been on this show 3 or 4 times, like back when he was in college.
He was at
the Spring King.
Yeah, he was at
Did you guys know Luis did not play high school football?
We had him on during the run when he was at East Texas Commerce. Yeah, when they won the national title with Kobe Carthel. I did not know that. He did not
play high school football. You know what he was doing as an athlete at that time?
Mm-mm.
He was a bowler. He has 12 perfect games bowling.
I don't like him.
As a high school kid.
Oh, my gosh. Also,
that's what he was.
And to finish out, you guys know Greg Ward because you covered him in Tyler.
Great player.
And Denzel Mims. So 2 of your wide receivers.
Denzel Mims, another Baylor grad. And Greg Ward. So I told you I do this radio show. And I came up with an award. We called it the Greisman. The Group of 5 Heisman Trophy winner, right? Because the Group of 5 kids really don't get enough credit for what they're getting done. When he was at Houston with Tom Herman, he had one of the great seasons. I think he ran for like 1,200 yards and threw for 2,900 yards. And, ended up taking the team to the Peach Bowl against Florida State and winning the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just this dual threat guy. And I played against him when we were the Arizona Hotshots, and he was in San Antonio. So when the draft time came, I saw his name. I drafted him because I'm going to have some. He's going to play some quarterback. He's going to play some wideout. They're going to have a heck of a time trying to figure out where number 84 is.
He has. He was an unbelievable player at John Tyler High School back in the day before Houston. If you don't mind, we really appreciate your time. Lou Holtz. News came down just recently that Rick, he passed away. We'd heard news that he had not been doing very well, but any memory or two about Coach Holtz?
I had the great pleasure to get to know Coach Holtz and his son Skip, and he will be missed. He will be missed. He was a legend in the college ranks. As a matter of fact, when I was coaching at Colorado, we played his Notre Dame team in the Fiesta Bowl, and we got the better of them that day. But I remember in the speeches, in the luncheon the day before, he got up there and sent some salvos at Bill McCartney, and I remember Mac going, "Okay, now I got to come up with something," and Mac trying to keep up with it. That was a tough act to follow when Lou got the microphone. He would learn how to do all these magic tricks with the newspapers, and he'd go into recruits' houses and pull these newspapers out, and then all of a sudden they'd keep going. It looked like he cut it all up into shreds, and then he opens it, and it's a full thing. He mastered that stuff. One of the things that Lou Holtz did was, list like 150 things he wanted to do with his life, the bucket list, if you will. I think he got 131 of them. And one of them, it was like going to space, to be a member at Augusta National, all these things. He was a mover and shaker and then some. And, Notre Dame will never forget him, and neither will college football.
My last thought to you, I met your father, and then I believe you also, along with Troy Aikman, used to come to Tyler for the Eisenhower International
Golf
Classic.
That's right. Troy and I came out there and partnered with some of the big-time golfers and found out that wasn't what we were good at.
But your dad was a part of the Sister Cities program.
That's right.
That was what they...
George Ham.
Yeah.
George Ham was the president at UT Tyler.
Absolutely.
And, so those guys were buddies from back when George was at Arizona State before going to UT Tyler. And so my dad taught at Arizona State. So we'd come out there and have some fun. And that's where I met the Gatlin brothers at one of those events. And the Gatlins played on that celebrity tour. So I ended up, how it all comes full circle. I got to be the honorary stepson of the Gatlins and jump in the band with them.
Were you there when they had that night before preview when they're doing and they're playing and people started dancing and they shut it down for a second?
Yep. And Larry Gatlin said, my dad said, we do not play in dance halls. Larry walked out. He said, no, we're not doing it.
That was a very awkward moment, by the way.
It was terribly awkward. And as a matter of fact, I said, if people are dancing, that means they like the music.
Yes.
What the heck are we doing here?
Yeah. George Ham got my family, Craig's here with me, and Cindy and also Jennifer, tickets to the Nebraska National Championship game at Sun Devil Stadium because of his relationship at ASU. He was the reason we had tickets to that game in '95.
And do you know who they played that night?
Yes. Florida and
Steve
some guy,
Spurrier. As things go full circle.
Yeah.
And I told you that I came out to meet Steve Spurrier in those early years. That was 1995, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about the fun and gun offense. He had this prolific offense, and Danny Werfel would win the Heisman Trophy the next year, right? But I kept saying, how are you protecting this empty formation? He says, well, they won't come.
Oh.
And I looked at him, I'm going, what do you mean they won't come? There's no rule, Steve, saying they won't come. If they come, you have to have an answer. And, whether it was a side adjust or something. But he said, no, if we see it, we'll just check out of it. Well, when they got to Nebraska in that game, they came. And 63-14, I think, was the final.
Yeah, it was. They came after him on every single play. Rick, good luck with what you're doing. And, man, I love how you said this is like the last part of, I guess, innocent football because everybody makes the same amount of money. And we're going to get a couple of your players on. We'll come try to
please come to the games.
Yeah.
You please come to the games. We're going to be at Frisco Stadium or Toyota Stadium in Frisco.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a soccer venue, and the field's awesome. So you're going to get close to the action. You're going to get to see and hear big time. I'm telling you, these guys are really good players. You're going to get to see it, get up close and personal. And I just, I know if you come once, you'll come a bunch of times because it'll be that much fun.
I have broadcast a high school game at that stadium. It used to be Pizza Hut Park or whatever it was at the time. Thank you very much, Rick, for being a part of the show.
Maybe we'll get the Gatlin brothers to play at that little beer hall right out down the street after the game.
Boy.
There you go.
Yeah.
But nobody dance. Nobody dance.
Not even All the Golden California, which is a good slow song. It's a good slow one.
Great to see you. Thank you very much,
baby.
Rick. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Always a treat. Thank you, fellas. Bye-bye.
Rick Newheisel. Man, how many stories does he have? My goodness. And then they played that 95 Nebraska team, lost 44-21. He was trying to warn Spurrier. He wasn't listening.
I can tell it was 63-24.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I remember that like it was yesterday.
I yearn for that.
And I just had to correct that because that's just a simple fact that I know. So I'm like, no. It was 24.
It was my best friend from growing up, Billy Garlock's birthday yesterday. I'm not going to say that he cried when we watched that game that night. He didn't cry. He was not. I mean, we're 15 years old. He was not like he was right on the edge of because he was so excited. It's the national. He's a huge Gator fan. Wound up going to the Merchant Marine Academy and played football and ran track. An unbelievable athlete. And he was so upset. It was just I'd never seen him like that ever. And our friendship began the first few years of he's a huge Bills fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. Didn't really work out there for them in those two things. And, I was not mature enough not to taunt him. And that one, I just felt bad. And I wasn't a Gator fan or anything, a Gator hater even at that point because I still hadn't made that journey. But it was just watching that game and then him just sitting there like just gobsmacked of how bad it was. And it was something I look back on now and you think about how much you look forward to something. And then when your expectations don't meet the reality in such a violent way, it's like, oh, dude.
Well, I do need to correct 62-24.
Yeah.
I think he said 63-14. I got caught up on the 14s was actually, but no, 62-24 is nice even numbers. And that was a Nebraska team that's easy. They had great guys like Lawrence Phillips and the Peters brothers,
Tyrone Washington.
Yeah, just good dudes in the locker room.
The Peters wasn't one of the Peters brothers the one that was at like a sports bar, a club or whatever, and he grabbed Miss Nebraska or something like that. Yeah,
they had a lot going on back then.
So,
where can they find those guys again?
Vince Erickson, who used to work at Channel 25, and I think he's at Fox 44 now. But Vince, longtime friend of mine, former co-host of mine, used to work in Lincoln for the CBS affiliate, and I cannot remember the reporter he said it was. As soon as I leave here,
Armin Katayan?
No, it was
Stacy Dales.
No, it was one of the big 60 Minutes old school guys. He had white hair.
Not Mike Wall. Oh, okay.
But I mean, he came like they were, they were on their great run of the time, and Lawrence Phillips had gotten in trouble, and it's when he, threw his girlfriend down the stairs.
You didn't throw her. Or not good at all.
Whatever. Yeah,
Harry Reisner?
No, it wasn't him. Golly. I know it when I'll just know it later, but he came in and asked Coach Osborne, and he was like, so does a 60 Minutes. And everybody in the room just like clinched up because they knew like, oh crap, here we go. And he asked Tom Osborne a question about that. And then Osborne answered in a very Osborne way and then proceeded to dress down Vince because he was the CBS affiliate and dress down anybody, like the cameraman and anybody else who was there with CBS because you're supposed to warn him when they're coming. It's just like, 60 Minutes didn't tell us they were coming. They don't even really know we're here. Like, they don't care.
Yeah, that was they were lucky social media wasn't around back then.
Oh, my God.
They were really lucky. They would have been enemy number one of, like, the entire college football world and have given them some ammunition. But those were great teams, and, that was a hell of a game to be there in person for, even though I was too young to really remember much of it. But it was a really fun, cool, awesome, just everything you could imagine as a kid watching a team that you're rooting for. And, Tommy Frazier's spin move touchdown that still you look back on it and it's like, how did he do that? And how did Florida not tackle him? Like, how did nobody manage to bring him down? But that was like the icing on the cake of like, all right, they're not just going to win. They're going to like kick their ass a little bit. Like it was an insane game that I didn't know what to expect walking in, and by the end of it, you're like, they nearly won by 40 points.
Yeah,
that's how good that '95 Nebraska team was.
It was
and Florida would be okay.
Ago.
They'd go win it right up.
The next year.
Next year, yeah, 96.
Yeah, who'd they beat the next year?
Tennessee, right?
Yeah, yep.
I think.
No,
they beat FSU.
Yeah, that's right.
In the Sugar Bowl.
Tennessee won it 2 years later.
Yeah,
after
2 years later.
And they beat Florida State as well.
Man, those were the days. Those were the days. All right,
what
we're
happened
not
in the 2000 national title game?
Yeah,
Oklahoma played that. Who did they play?
Florida State.
Oh, Florida State.
But Florida State beat Nebraska in '93.
Yeah.
With Charlie Ward, and what was a game that was never supposed to be close, that was stunningly close.
Yeah, and then won again in '99. So,
Boy, that's a long time ago for the Huskers. Was it Bob Schieffer?
No, not Bob Schieffer. Yeah. He was politics.
But I do remember that. That was a very awkward press conference back in the day.
And maybe he was only with them for a little while. I'm going to figure out.
It might have been it for him. When we come back, yesterday we started a list of the Big 12 quarterbacks. Hold on. And head coaches, and who will be your coach in 2030? We're going to move. You want to do that next, or you want to do it tomorrow?
I was wondering, do we want to cram it here, or do we? Well, how many names do we have left? Because I kind of want to. I had fun with that. I don't want to really rush it if we don't have to.
Yeah, we got about 10. Let's wait. Till we do it tomorrow.
I think it'd be better kind of give ourselves some breathing room, just because that was a fun topic, and I haven't.
You know who the first team we haven't done yet would be Houston too.
Bernie Goldberg. It was Bernie Goldberg.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Bernie Goldberg.
Yeah, I think it'd be better to give it some breathing room, because that was a fun topic and something we can just kind of waste a lot of time on in a good way tomorrow, rather than trying to just fit it in here for the sake of doing it. So yeah, I'd rather put that off till tomorrow. Make a special spot in the schedule for it.
Okay.
But what did you say? The first team was what? Houston?
Yeah, the first team we'll see is Houston, and they
so they're saying Willie Fritz has had some more success, is what you're telling me.
They feel like he'll be moving on.
That's what you're telling me. Is he has some more success?
Yeah, he wins like 3 straight Big 12 titles, goes to the playoff, and retires or something, because that's what he does.
We should ask him about that. Hey, Coach, the Athletic says that, or is that the Athletic? Or, yeah, the Athletic says you're not going to be there by 2030. That'd be a good place to start.
His answer would be, if I'm not here in 2030, it's because I'm golfing.
I'm retired and I'm fishing in the Gulf.
Yeah, I'm trying all the best shrimp that Houston has to offer.
Exactly.
And everywhere else. So, yeah, that's what I think. And Willie Fritz is not. I'm sure he's been fired. Every coach has been fired. It's a rite of passage, but he's not a guy you fire. He's a guy that you're upset that you can't keep.
Yeah.
That now all of a sudden somebody bigger than you that can pay more wants him.
He has not been fired as a head coach according to the quick Google search, which is AI now. So I don't know, that could be wrong.
But he's not a guy you fire. He's just not a guy you fire. He's so good at it. He's a guy that gets moves up a level every single time.
Yep, he does.
Well, they are going to have high expectations, and if he's got Houston on the track to winning a bunch of games to the point of other teams come and calling at this point, then that's a good problem for Houston to have. But got to have that happen first. But certainly, I think there's plenty of teams who have had coaching changes in the last 2, 3, 4 years ago. I know there's Baylor fans that are like, we should have hired Willie Fritz the last time around. Not Dave Aranda. Hindsight's 20/20, of course. And it's always easy to say when you're having a down year and the other guy's having a good year. You didn't say that in 22, but now you're saying that in 25. But, yeah,
you'd still have the Bells on staff.
Yeah. We almost went a whole interview without mentioning them until you mentioned at the very end. You mentioned Sean. I was wondering if we were going to get through that. And I know if we had, then he was going to probably say something.
I was going to ask him, what does Sean have on you that you gave him more money? No. I actually, and here's the thing. You said the Bells would still be on staff. I actually think it's great for the Bells that they branched out.
No, yeah.
I think it is. I think that's the case.
I'm sure Sean was a little bit – there's no question he was hurt a little bit.
If one day Sean comes back and is the head coach here, or Brian, I wouldn't surprise me either that if he ascends to that point. But or wants that job someday down the road. But
I think a Baylor search would be really interesting.
Yeah.
And probably will be sooner rather than later. But, yeah, with a new AD – I said this yesterday, but I think with a new AD and – guys like Sean Bell, who are obvious connections now. Is it too early for that? Probably still. But how far away is he, though? He can't be that far away from being a head coach at some point. I know he's still working his way up. But he's kind of now been around college for a good little while if you think about it.
Yeah.
He's approaching closer to 10 years than he is 5 at this point. So he would be somebody you just at least you interview for sure. But then the obvious Texas boys, Traylor, Kenny, whoever else, I think that could be a really interesting job opening. But Willie Fritz has found his spot. I don't think he's trying to move from Houston to Waco at this point. But he was a guy who I know a lot of Baylor fans are like, man, that would have been a really smart hire back in the day. He'd probably still be here. But who knows?
I think the key to any hire now is finding someone who can, because the other thing you used to be able to do, because everybody was on the same – at least, NIL was illegal. Now you would still people getting paid and all that. And so you would probably lose out to the big programs whose boosters were paying more under the table than everybody else was. But I think now you've got to find somebody. Curt Cignetti's the current example because they paid some big money in NIL, but they didn't pay the biggest money. They didn't just go out there and just open up a vault. They were Texas Tech pays big money, but they also were efficient about where that money was spent. It wasn't just looking at the list of, okay, these are all the guys that everybody's heard of. Let's try to get them all in one room and see if it works.
Some of that,
but like there's also, I would say that like Romello Height wasn't a guy that I would have put on any radar because he was at his fourth school in 4 years.
I think you might not have had if you to give somebody a blank sheet of paper and said who are the biggest people you can go get, but then once you saw who the names were they were going after and you looked at it, you were like, oh wow, they actually are going after all the best guys. Like, but yeah, you might not have.
But they were all fits. Like,
they were. Yeah,
they're fits. They're more that, and you can find diamonds in the rough really well.
Yeah,
especially at smaller places that you can't just call. A different Big Daddy and be like,
I don't think they overpaid for anybody. They knew what they was going to take. They paid some guys more than others, but it wasn't like they had to reach out like they had to do with Sorsby, who as a quarterback's going to get a bunch of money.
Right, but and I'm not trying to take away from that because they did a great job of finding guys who were fits, who are also stars, I think is what the point you're trying to make. And Houston did that as well last year with Koziel and Thomas and Wegman and various others. Like I didn't ask him about it. I thought to, but we ran out of time. But, this transfer class that Houston has coming in, they got a lofty bar to rise up to because that transfer class last year was badass. Like, that's a big part of the reason why Houston got better outside of just Willie Fritz doing his thing. But, yeah, I think if you do look at the list, and maybe I'm wrong, but David Bailey was very highly ranked. Remember, like, when it was all said and done, they had a superstar. They had, like, an all-star team, but it was all about fit, though, and all of those guys fit.
Yes.
Like, to Joey's – absolute credit. There was not one guy who was like, I'm making my money. I'm not going to, like, they all went in there and went to work. And that's why Tech was as successful as it was, because if they didn't do that, then the machine would have had a kink in it or, a chain broke or something. It wouldn't operate at a high level, but every single piece of that machine they put together worked fluidly and flawlessly, and that's why they made the playoff and did what they did.
Because I do think that there are schools out there who have had success in the transfer portal, and then their strategy, because they hit on all the guys one time around, everybody's a 1 or 2 year hitch essentially in the portal. Sometimes you'll get a guy for 3 years, but most of the time it's a short-term arrangement. And then you turn around and go, okay, well, let me go down this list. If we can get these 7 guys, it doesn't even matter. Like, they're just such good football players. They're such good athletes. I'm such a good coach. We have such good coaches. It'll work. There is so much more to it than that. And then, again, the key is finding the dudes out there who are the Braden Fisks of the world, who are at Western Michigan.
The Army ants.
To go to, who are studs at this other place, to go with the guys, Jared Verse is also that, but I'm using those examples because the ones at the top of my head. But if you look at, what Indiana's doing, they went out and got Fernando Mendoza, who is up and coming at Cal, had a really good year. But they also put a bunch of guys around him that everybody else is like, oh, yeah, they'll be the third receiver on Washington. And he's like, no, they're going to be the number one receiver here.
But some of them stayed more than the 1 year.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Indiana had a lot that they carried over from the James Madison. And that's also the key when you're also going into the portal, and if you're going to bring guys in, let me, Brandon. Hold on, just get the Tyson Foods Arkansas jersey ready. I want to flash that up here in a minute.
Think about Omar Cooper. Omar Cooper, fantastic receiver for Indiana. I would bet you that there were several schools when he was out there that were like, yeah, he could be the good, secondary or third target for us. And then he goes to Indiana, and he's one of their biggest players.
Catch of the year.
Yeah, catch of the year. All those different things. I think that part of it is just seeing that this guy fits what we do better than he fits anywhere else. And they were just really good at that. Tech was really good at that. Oregon's really good at that. Miami was excellent at it. Really excellent at it under Heatherton, the defensive coordinator for the first year. They had some guys that had been in, like Reuben Bain transferred from Louisville a year before, and you could see the talent, but Miami's defense was awful. And then they just went and kind of, put it on. Keontae Scott that they put on that defense was kind of a second thought. Like, he was a good player at Auburn, but he was like, okay. And then all of a sudden, he's a stud because he fit what they were doing so well.
We have a lot that we've been able to do today. We're not done. We will have a heck of a lineup tomorrow and also Friday. just a tease, I interviewed Baylor cornerbacks coach Jeremy Modkins earlier today. What a story he is. He'll join us either on Thursday or Friday's show and much more. But here is Arkansas and Tyson Foods struck a sweeping new partnership. Fascinating twist. I like the way that looks. The color, the logo color, it seems to fit pretty well. It's not gaudy. It doesn't seem like it's out of place, but there's the Tyson Foods patch for Arkansas.
Oh, I could not disagree more. I could not disagree more. I think
we
it
will.
Definitely stands out over the SEC patch. It looks very cluttered.
Brandon, can you go full screen with that?
It's
by any chance?
notably like just kind of off center to the patch and just feels like they're. I mean, what else can they cram on? What can they put at the bottom of the collar like some teams do? What else can we fit on here? God, this sucks.
No, that's not what I said.
I didn't say what you said. I'm saying what I'm saying.
No, I don't like it either. But also, again, it's at time. I think it doesn't, to me, look gaudy compared to what some are going to look because of the color scheme for what is Tyson Foods. But
it blends, I guess, okay. I've never thought Tyson Foods has really that cool of a logo. It feels like it was just done on Microsoft Word. But I do like now, what is intriguing about this is that 90% of this money goes into the NIL part.
Yes, absolutely.
From Tyson, and not straight to the university, which I think is good job, Brandon. So yeah, there you see it bigger in all its glory. It's just like it wouldn't look so bad if the SEC patch wasn't right there.
Yeah,
and it's still it looks like a Boy Scout sash.
Yeah, it's just jumbled on there. It looks like a NASCAR jacket, which is probably what those uniforms are going to become. And yeah, my opinion is that it sucks. And everybody's opinion that I think follows college football long enough, we're anti-jersey patch. We're also smart enough to understand that there's no choice in this matter when it comes to the fans. So they're going to do what they got to do to make the most money they can and to pay these players. And that'll be the excuse is, we got to do this to pay the players, when now they just have a reason to do this when they probably wanted to do it anyways to begin with. It just sucks for them. They now have to give some of that money to the players because they would rather have just done this and pocketed it all like they did with every other advertisement. But nevertheless, Tyson Foods makes a ton of sense with Arkansas. It makes a ton of sense. The only thing that would have made as much or more sense would have been like Walmart. I think the partnerships could be kind of cool. I just don't like that look. It's very clearly an advertisement for Tyson Foods on the Arkansas jersey that we've never had to see before, and that just sucks. And MLB got kind of used to it, but I also didn't watch nearly as much MLB as I watched college football, so I wasn't watching every single game. And one of the few games I watched was the Seattle Mariners one time with the gaudiest, ugliest Nintendo Switch patch that was like this big on their sleeves and just looked ridiculous. And they got made fun of relentlessly for it online, as they should have, because it was a gaudy, ugly, unnecessary patch.
It was the size of a Nintendo Switch.
It was the size. It was gigantic.
Yeah.
And
of an actual Switch.
Unnecessary because we don't want them on the jerseys, but
it was unnecessarily large.
Necessary for what they got from it. Yeah, no, I don't like the patches. Like the NASCAR cars, I'm used to that.
But I mean, we'll see. Like some of them, they blend in fine. I think some NBA uniforms you can watch and you don't really take much notice if you're not looking for it. But I just think that America was so pure when it came to stuff like that, outside of obviously NASCAR or track and field and some of these sponsor type events. But yeah, we were untouched for the longest, and then they opened the doors, and now the last bastion of not bowing to how can we fit more ads on something is college football, and here we are.
Yeah, next thing you have 3 patches.
Strangely enough, I would just open up ESPN.com and turn to the NBA page because you mentioned the NBA. And the picture I see is Victor Wembanyama in the Spurs jersey. And you see the logo, but it blends very nicely. The Nike swoosh is on one side. The other thing is, I think the SEC patch is going to have to move if that's going to look good. But that's not going to happen either.
But still, I don't know.
I don't necessarily like the SEC patch either, or the conference patches.
Yeah, I mean,
much.
those I can give or take. I don't really have a strong opinion on those. I'll wear a Tyson Foods patch on my hat if you want to pay me money, Tyson Foods. But
you know who has a strong opinion about those conference logos on their jerseys? The conferences.
Yeah, they do. I know. They do. I know. I would love for Tyson to come in here and make Dino Nuggets the official sponsor of something.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be all for that as well. Had my fair share, but yeah, I understand why they're doing it. I understand the amount of money that Arkansas is going to generate from this. So all of it makes sense. I just think it sucks that we've had to get to this point where we got the jersey patches, and it is what it is. We'll still watch the games, and it'll all be okay. Yeah. Touchdowns still count the same, and fans will still show up, but God, you just know that that's already not great, but there's going to be others that are way worse. And I'm really interested to see what all these look like when they start to all be announced.
Arkansas should get something with pork. The cellar door would be their sponsor because that's where they usually end up. Ouch. All right. We've got the wheel, the quizzes, and all that other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually a funny time. I'm sitting here talking about Arkansas, but this is my new thing I brought in today.
That's from Lion King.
Heirloom from my grandfather James Jolly, who went to Arkansas way back in the day, passed away a few years ago, and I just this past weekend was at home in Tyler, and this was sitting around. I was like, "Whose is this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's your papa's. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So
is it a piggy bank?
No, it's just a statue.
It's got like a slot.
Oh, no, you know what? Yeah, it is. Actually.
It is a piggy bank in the back of his head.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense now.
Here, you want to put those dollars in there?
Well, it might be a good place for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it's really cool and old school, and so this is the new addition behind me, along with Bret Hart and a few other things I'll drop in here.
So Craig's got his background he's working on. Paul, you're going to start putting anything FSU? You got the helmet.
I get the helmet. I'll do that.
So I don't get.
Get the well, you have all this. Glorious! You have massive screens.
I don't need it.
All right, we can switch spots every day.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'll bring my Randolph Rohawks helmet.
Yeah. By the way, I had a roommate one time named Pete, and his parents came in town and took him to Sam's, and he bought like a gigantic thing of Dino Nuggets, and I had a date over like a week later, and she went into the freezer to get like ice, and she goes, "Who has Dino Nuggets? How old are you guys?" I'm like, "They're not mine. They're absolutely not mine."
I would have claimed them and like, if you don't like it, get the hell out, because this is obviously not a good sign about where this is headed, because I'm going to eat a Dino Nugget every once in a while. It's just simple. But yeah, thanks for pointing out that's a piggy bank. I would never have picked up on that. I don't know how I didn't notice that.
All right. Thank you, everyone who's been in the chat. We are about to wrap it up. We've still got things to carry over for tomorrow and guests, and we'll do that tomorrow at 3. Let's spin the wheel.
Okay, there it goes.
Where is the noise? Man, I'm telling you, we got to do it again with the noise.
Okay, and the question is,
how can you?
Are you an early bird or a night owl? Well, Craig is the nightiest night owl.
Yeah, I'm a night owl. Apparently, my niece Gracie is also now a night owl, to the dismay of her parents. So her and I, when she gets older, can stay up late and watch movies while everybody else goes to sleep. But yeah, I'm a night owl, always have been, and probably always will be at this point. I don't see why I'm going to change now.
I used to be a night owl, and then I transformed into an early bird.
Why?
Amanda.
I mean,
rise and shine, up and at 'em.
Like
that's what women do. Get in bed. I'm going to bed. Get in bed.
I'm awake at 7 o'clock every day.
No, that's not bad.
I mean, so that's I mean, like every time,
You know what's amazing about being an early bird is you really do sometimes look up and it's only 8:30 and you've already done a lot.
Yeah.
And you've got the rest of the day.
I don't mind it. I miss the late night. Like I do. Like I miss the nice. Because it's quite like not even going out like I used to. That's not even the thing I miss. I really do miss like being up late at night in the solitude, just in the house, and being able to like watch a movie or whatever and just chill and relax, and kind of that was where I would downshift. And now it's not that bad or anything. It's just like that's the thing I miss more than like going out and slamming 10 beers.
Yeah, and no. You used to be a night owl.
I was prolific.
I tell you what, when I get tired, and I get tired earlier, then I go in and I go watch something on Netflix or whatever as I fall asleep. Okay, the wheel. Thank you. Here we go. Trivia, March the 4th makes the birthday of one of football's most influential figures, which legendary coach born in 1888 popularized the forward pass and coined the phrase, win one for the Gipper.
Well, it marks the birthday, not makes the birthday.
That marks.
That would be Newt Rockne.
Didn't we have this guy in the book? And
Well-
it wasn't Rockne.
Well, it's not Stagg or Pop Warner because they were born before 1888, and Bear Bryant was born well after 1888.
It wasn't Bear Bryant for sure.
Yeah.
All right,
so-
you're going to say Newt Rockne.
Well, the Gipper is Notre Dame.
Yep, there we are. I went to his grave,
Yeah.
cemetery, when I went to South Bend a few years back.
Yeah. What kind of Republican are you? Didn't know that Ronald Reagan did this movie. Newt Rockne helped build the modern game. He didn't invent the forward pass, but in 1913, he and QB Gus Doris stunned the Army Black Knights by throwing to receivers in stride. Revolutionary at the time. At halftime of the 1928 Army game, Rockne delivered the win one for the Gipper speech honoring George Gipp, the moment he became folklore in a 1940 classic film starring future President Ronald Reagan as the Gipper.
That same year I was born. That's about the time I was born in 1913. As Firefighter said in the chat, all right, here we go. March 4th, 2005. A major sports media milestone occurred, changing how we consume college sports. What was it?
I'm going to say the first HD broadcast because the
Yeah.
Longhorn Network was after that.
Yeah, because ESPNU has not changed
Yeah.
anything.
And Game Day was before that.
Mm-hmm.
And the Longhorn Network didn't
rest
change
his
how we
soul.
consume college sports. It changed how college sports, it broke a lot of it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So I'm going to say HD broadcast.
I agree.
Yeah, it's too early for Longhorn Network, too late for College Game Day, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about ESPNU. It's just there to
But
me. I don't.
we don't consume anything because of them.
You know, when I watch
other than
ESPNU is when it says this game is on
Yeah,
ESPNU.
yeah, or it's been moved because another game's running
And even
late.
then, I don't even realize it's probably on ESPNU.
I think that's going to be the answer, though.
Yeah.
I don't know about when did HD start? I don't
It's-
remember as early as
about-
05, but I also
mean, that's
wasn't
the first one. And then, of course, here in Texas, we were one of the states that were like they didn't want to.
my
Oh wow,
God.
yeah. Okay, it was.
Greg-
long time.
Greg's like, I'm not going to wait for y'all to flesh this out. To hear
Yeah,
it.
Greg had a
So,
feeling.
All right, well, yeah, a special college basketball game day broadcast from Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Way to go, Andrew. You
This
finally
network
won.
revolutionized the sport.
First,
I don't know about that. It gave
Yeah.
fans year-round coverage of college sports, including smaller conference matchups, and elevated high school recruiting into a major national obsession by broadcasting hundreds of live events that had never previously appeared on TV. And that's true. There was a few events that the big high school game, and who's to say what the world would look like if the Longhorn Network in Texas got what they wanted with those high school broadcasts back in the day? That could have.
Yeah, that was. They tried to sneak that through.
They
and
almost did. I mean,
that was killed quickly.
They were at media days.
Yes.
at media days, and then you have.
But the arrogance, not so much Texas, but the arrogance that they could do that and not get scolded by everybody that was
And
recruiting.
it wasn't DeLoss Dodds that said it. It was somebody else. It was like, I can't wait to see, like when we do that game with who was the guy from El Lido that was the running back?
Jonathan Gray.
Jonathan Gray. They were like, we did Jonathan Gray game, and then everybody heard that and went, wait, what now?
Yeah, hold on.
You're gonna do that? Yeah. So.
That's not good for everybody else in the state. Which bubble team is most likely to make the dance? This is part of a story with Miami of Ohio right now, but the winner, Ohio State, that's who I picked. And I honestly don't know enough about. I know Auburn's kind of right on the edge.
The Auburn versus Toledo thing.
Miami, Ohio.
Miami, Ohio, I'm sorry, is interesting because Bruce Pearl threw gasoline on it. And then today, to his credit, and I've never been a big Bruce Pearl fan, but he said, yes, I helped my son get the job. Yes, I'm going to root for Auburn. I'm sorry. But at least he's honest about it.
He said we a couple of times when he was answering that question originally, too.
So, okay, he's not going to follow the broadcasting norms. He's not the first, won't be the last. And, what can you expect from him? But, yeah, he's got to, it's one of those things that he's got to maybe remove himself from that discussion. Go, like, you guys know how I feel. I think
recuse himself like the College Football Playoff Committee.
Yeah, exactly.
Miami of Ohio winning last night. They are one of, 15 teams in the history of basketball to go at least 30-0. Doesn't mean they finished undefeated, but at least one time be 30-0 at the end of that amount of games. All right. Everything else, here we go. What is your go-to stadium food? I don't think this should have been 100%.
Yeah, it's a hot dog for me, dog.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever gotten chicken tenders at a game. I get chicken tenders everywhere else, but I take that back. I got one at a Rangers game one time.
Yeah.
And then, I've gotten some of this other stuff, but I take me to a baseball game, give me a couple hot dogs, I'm happy.
I don't think I've gotten a pretzel at a game too. Just not that like I'm not sitting at a ball game or a football thinking, man, I really want a pretzel right now. I'm thinking, give me a hot dog,
A hot dog brat, same thing.
Yeah.
Not really, but you know what I mean.
The only time I've had hamburgers at games before, but a hamburger is not a great game food
ballpark.
to me. Yeah, because
unless you're in a suite or something.
It's just
to me it would be nachos would be too, right?
Yeah. But chicken tenders I've actually had a few times just because you walk past the hot dog thing and they're like, yeah, these have been here a minute.
Yeah.
The chicken tenders I can fool myself into thinking that they haven't been.
We had a
Especially
couple of
Dino chicken tenders.
Yeah.
We had a couple of super chats. Brandon, let's make sure we roll those tomorrow, please, to put them up if we can on the screen. Thank you, Andrew, Valet, Garrett Ross, and also Brandon Rowe. We appreciate all of you who watch what we do every day. Thanks to our great sponsors. We're back tomorrow at 3. Thanks to Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina. I'm David Smoak. Good night, 365 Sports. So I was reading the transcript of Bernie, whatever you said his name, Goldberg, in that press conference.